Chapter 56, Chi Wanqing. Chapter 56. Chi Wanqing, Captain. That bomb just exploded, but why nothing else followed after that? And what was that gunshot afterward? Did we get reinforcements? I don't know what's going on. I'll go outside and have a look. You guys stay here. Wanqing, are you all right? I'm fine, but leave me a grenade. The woman called Wanqing who spoke last had a pale face. The other two people knew what she had meant. Ammunitions were getting low, and if she couldn't defend herself anymore, she would commit suicide while taking as many lives with her as possible. Captain Lu, are you guys all right? Gua Chi started yelling as soon as he came in. It sounded like Brother Gua. Right, it is Brother Gua. Did we get reinforcements? Are the you devils finally finished? The youth with a machine gun in his hand asked, surprised. Fong Wei, you're right, it is Gua Chi. How did he get in? Wasn't he? No way. The woman who they referred as Captain shook her head halfway. What's going on, Gua Chi? Captain Lu asked as soon as she saw Gua Chi coming to the entrance of the cave. Gua Chi saw the three people in the cave and was relieved as he noticed Chi. Wanqing was still able to hold herself against the cave wall. I have requested for reinforcements, and we have already finished off all the you devils outside. Are you guys all right? We're fine. It's just that Wanqing was shot in the thigh. By the way, which squad saved us? Captain Lu looked at Gua Chi with suspicion, thinking which team could come here this quickly? Even reinforcements couldn't get here so fast. Was it Wolf Howl's people? No, I met a friend in the forest just then. He saved me and helped me deal with the 20 or so you devils outside. Gua Chi caught on with his breath and said, What? You're saying one person killed more than 20 special ops? And this person is a friend you just met? Oh, Gua Chi do know how to kid. Captain Lu exclaimed immediately. Chi Wanqing and Fong Wei also looked at Gua Chi with suspicion. If they didn't deeply understand Gua Chi as a person, they would even think that Gua Chi had betrayed them. Gua Chi hurriedly said, Captain Lu, this is real. However, that friend ambushed them. He didn't fight them head on, but he killed them off one by one in the shadows. I followed behind him and saw very clearly he was only discovered by the last few, and they opened fire. Fong Wei then came to the realization and said, I heard those you devils open fire at the end, so that's what it was. Even if he ambushed them, this ability is definitely absurdly strong. Let's go. Gua Chi, show me this friend of yours. Wanqing, I'll help carry you. Captain Lu said to the woman behind her who was injured and didn't care if she would agree or not. She just carried her on her back. Wanqing has a gunshot wound, but my friend can cure it in a matter of minutes. Look, I was shot here this morning, and now it has a scab already. It has only been a few hours. He really is amazing. Fortunately, I had the chance to meet him when I was running away, but you wouldn't even believe what he was doing at that time. Gua Chi spoke those words quickly. That's amazing. It really did form a scab. Fong Wei had been so amazed by the wound at Gua Chi's waist that he couldn't help but exclaimed. After a while, he remembered about Gua Chi's last part and asked, by the way, Gua Chi, what was he doing when you met him? Gua Chi smiled and said, he was leisurely roasting a rabbit in the middle of nowhere. He even gave me half of it after casually taking care of 3 men in a flash and healing my wound. He is definitely the strongest senpai I have met before. There are actually people this strong. I have to make him become my master, but he must be quite old. Sigh, if only Lu Chun and you, Nan, were still here. Fan Wei's eyes became glum. Hearing Fong Wei talk about Lu Chun and Yunnan, these few people all fell into silence, and suddenly the atmosphere grew heavy. Ah, what a pile after walking out of the cave. Those few people immediately saw the 24 people Yi Mo killed stacked into a pile. But Yi Mo wasn't here. He actually killed that many. He is way too *King amazing. I must bow down to him as my master. Fan Wei exclaimed, once again, don't bother trying. Brother Yi is a powerful person out of this world. Do you really think he's going to take you in? Brother Yi, Brother Yi. After finishing, Guiqi called out, you all came out? Then you can leave. I still have some things to do, so I won't be staying anymore. Yi Emo suddenly appeared from somewhere and smiled plainly. Guiqi was stunned for a moment and immediately said, huh, elder brother Yi, you're leaving? Oh, let me introduce. This is the captain of the Eagle Hunter, Luo Lin. The woman on her back is called Qi Wanqing, and this is Feng Wei. He really admires you. Captain, this is the Yi Mo I told you of that helped us. Yi Mo, hello. My name is Lu Lin. I'm really grateful for you this time. I never expected you to be this young. I thought you would be at least 30 or 40. Luo Lin hurried to extend a hand and shake with Yi Mo. The gratitude in her eyes was evident. Big brother Yi, you really are so strong and so young. My name is Feng Wei. Would you take me as your disciple? Feng Wei's eyes shot out intense beams as he looked at Yi Mo with admiration. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, I only got them through ambushes. I'm only half learned myself. How can I take disciples? Don't bring up this anymore. Qi Wanqing looked at Yi Mo, and her eyes brightened up. The reason she wanted to join the army and even got into the Eagle Hunter squad through her hard work was because of her admiration for the strength of soldiers. Furthermore, her grandpa was a soldier, and her father was a soldier. However, her father didn't have a son and only had her as a daughter. She even had an argument with her father over some things and didn't want to stay home, so she used Hua Mulanwan as her idol and joined the military. If Yi Mo was really as powerful as Guiqi had said, then he was a partner that she could approve. Usually, she had been very cold to people. Firstly, it was because she was too beautiful. So if she wasn't cold in the army, then there would be too many flies flying around her. Secondly, she felt that there was not a single person that deserved her admiration in the army. Although her instructors were unyielding, they couldn't finish off more than 20 enemies all by themselves, even with an ambush tactic. Of course, her cold personality was mainly due to family reasons and her upbringing. The only one she slightly admired was Su Shi. He came to her squad to teach them for a few days, and he really was strong. However, he left a few days after. Yi Mo, who was in front of her eyes, seemed a bit different from Su Shi, and yet she didn't know exactly how. It was just a vague feeling. Elder brother Yi, this is my squad member Qi Wanqing. She is wounded in the leg. Could you perhaps treat it for her? Guiqi looked desperately at Yi Mo. Yi Mo looked at the woman on Lu Lin's back. She was just a bit over 20. Her hair was very short, and her face was beautiful and picturesque like a drawing. However, she was a little pale, probably due to the loss of blood. Yi Mo shook his head and thought that this type of girl should be staying at home. Why would she come to the country border forest to fight? Note 1. Hua Mulan was a female general in ancient China who fought for her country disguised as a man. Disney made a movie out of her story. Another famous woman was Joan of Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc in French, who kept her hair short and men soldiers clothing through her military campaigns. Chapter 57. Treatment. Chapter 57. Treatment. Put her down. I'll have a look. Yi Mo had already noticed the gunshot wound in Qi Wanqing's leg. However, Lu Lin carried Qi Wanqing some distance away and put her down in an obscure brush before saying, Please, Mr. Yi, while we deal with the bodies, could you help treat Wanqing? There are some spoils of war that we need to collect. She didn't wait for Yi Mo's answer and left. Yi Mo nodded. This Captain Lu did things fast and was very straightforward. She didn't even ask how he was going to treat her, or even if he could treat her, and she didn't have the intention of asking Qi Wanqing either. Lu Lin left. Qi Wanqing looked down at the position of the wound on her leg, and then looked at Yi Mo. She felt a bit awkward. After all, this posture wasn't the best. She believed Guiqi's words. Since he said this Yi Mo could cure her, then he definitely could. However, the wound was on her thigh, and she hoped that he didn't plan on taking off her pants. Yi Mo looked at Qi Wanqing's wound and frowned. It wasn't that he couldn't cure her, but this position was a bit awkward. What if he put his hands there, and this woman started rambling? He really hated doing things that were arduous, yet possibly punishing, and seeing this woman's cold complexion, she really might start protesting. As she noticed that Yi Mo was looking at her wound and frowned without talking, Qi Wanqing immediately understood what was going on, and immediately her impression of Yi Mo improved. She used a voice that was so low that even she could barely hear. Yi. Big brother Yi, you can treat me. It's okay. Yi Mo was stunned for a moment and didn't know how to reply. He didn't think that she would take the initiative to ask him to treat her. He started to have a better impression of Qi Wanqing, who seemed cold on the outside but wasn't that indifferent on the inside. The reason he felt it was troublesome was that Qi Wanqing's wound was strapped tight by her camo suit, unlike Guiqi, who was wearing ragged clothes. He only needed a palm to force out the bullet. However, Qi Wanqing's wound was strapped very tight by her camo suit. Now that Qi Wanqing said she didn't mind and asked him to treat her, he immediately had a good feeling towards her and thought that she was a very genuine girl. Thinking about this, he also smiled. In fact, your wound isn't something troublesome. However, there are only two ways. First, you take off your pants and I'll help you treat it. The other way would be to poke a hole in your pants. Look, no need, I'll take it off. I didn't bring another pair, Qi Wanqing said and took off her clothes in her own accord. Since she had agreed, she wouldn't be hesitant. Yi Mo's good impression towards this straightforward girl rose once again. Seeing her difficulty in moving, he hurried over and said, Thank you. From the first time Qi Wanqing set eyes on Yi Mo, she had felt that he was a pretty good person. Besides, when she saw his hesitation at the position of her wound, and how his eyes never left that spot, she felt more trust toward Yi Mo, and actually let him take off her pants. Although Yi Mo's hand didn't touch her skin directly, she could still feel the warmth of his hands, feeling a heartfelt comfort. Yi Mo didn't take her pants off completely and just took it down to her wound and strapped it up. However, Qi Wanqing felt this way to be more intimate, and her face immediately became flushed. As she didn't dare to look at Yi Mo's movements again, she turned her head deep in thought. Qi Wanqing's youthful white skin struck a chord with Yi Mo. Her underwear seemed to be white checkered. However, Yi Mo didn't dare to look and focused his mind on the task. At the same time, Yi Mo palmed on Qi Wanqing's thigh, and a bullet flew out in a small spurt of blood. Afterward, Yi Mo took out a few herbs and chewed it a few times before applying it to her wound. With the help of his qi, the medicinal power was quickly digested into the wound. Finally, he took out the dressing from his bag and strapped it to Qi Wanqing's wound and pulled up her pants. The whole process took barely a few minutes. The reason he chewed the herbs instead of letting her doing it was that he was afraid that she would be too slow. And since girls needed some face, it wasn't good if she had her pants off for too long. Qi Wanqing only realized that he was done when Yi Mo pulled up her pants. She didn't even see the entire process. Brother Yi, have you finished treating me already? Qi Wanqing's blush hadn't retreated and was a little dazed. It's done. You will probably be completely fine tomorrow morning. Yi Mo smiled and said a few words. He used his qi to help her heal her wound, so she should recuperate faster than Guiqi. It really doesn't hurt. There's also a feeling of coolness. Thank you, Brother Yi. You really are amazing. For the first time, Qi Wanqing felt that there was such a thing as magic in the world, and her previous awkwardness had long disappeared. Which doctor could do what Yi Mo did just then? Taking out a bullet in a few minutes and treating a gunshot wound so easily. Thank you, Brother Yi. Qi Wanqing also felt Yi Mo wasn't a normal person, just like Guiqi had said. Brother Yi, do you mind if I ask you what you do for a living? This was actually the first time Qi Wanqing asked about a man, and felt her face burning up, but she desperately wanted to know. She also knew that it was fate to be able to meet someone like Yi Mo. Not everyone could meet someone with such ability. Yi Mo opened his mouth but swallowed the words, "Let's go." Chi Wanqing asked him something like that meant that she didn't have the intentions of leaving right now, so he could only casually say, "I don't have a stable job now, they're all temporary. As for what I do, if I'm lucky I can earn quite a lot, but when I'm not, I had been kicked out by the city management once. Hee hee." Yi Mo wasn't lying. He helped treat people, sell at roadside stalls, sell charms, and even help people deal with gangs. Ha! Chi Wanqing looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. She couldn't believe that someone like Yi Mo didn't have a job, and was even doing casual jobs. "Brother Yi, thank you for saving my life." Chi Wanqing couldn't even finish before she was interrupted by Yi Mo. Yi Mo smiled as he interrupted her. "Even if I didn't help with your wound, you would have been fine. I didn't save your life." Chi Wanqing smiled sweetly, which stunned Yimi as he stared at her. He didn't think that the cold-looking Chi Wanqing could have such an attractive smile. Seeing that Yi Mo seemed to be entranced while looking at her, Chi Wanqing actually felt joyful, and hurriedly said, "Brother Yi, I'm not talking about this. If you didn't come, the rest of the squad, and I wouldn't even be able to live, and perhaps would have been our asterisk ped. I'm really grateful to you." Yi Mo nodded as he knew that Chi Wanqing was speaking the truth. He contemplated for a while, and responded, "Actually, I feel that a girl like you aren't suitable for the army, but of course, this is just my view." Unexpectedly, Chi Wanqing nodded and said, "Brother Yi, you're right. Originally, I admired the military lifestyle, so I have worked very hard myself until I finally entered the Eagle Hunter squad. However, judging from now, perhaps I'm really not suited to live in the military." After thinking for a while, Chi Wanqing continued once again, "Brother Yi, I want to request your help for something." Chapter 58. Found the place. Chapter 58. Found the place. Yi Mo smiled and said, "Tell me, as long as it's convenient and not troublesome, I'm willing to help you." He felt good toward Chi Wanqing, so if he could help her, he wouldn't mind spending some of his time for her. "I have a cousin that opened a company in the Jiangnan province at the city of Luotsang, but she doesn't have enough people right now. Would you have the time to go work at her company? It's actually really simple. You just need to survey the factory, and that's about it," Chi Wanqing said, beaming with joy. She suddenly realized that she had smiled more in these 20 or 30 minutes than she did for an entire year. Yi Mo immediately understood that this little girl was trying to help him out, but was scared that his dignity wouldn't allow him to accept. So she told it, masking it as a favor from him. Otherwise, how could there be such good thing? He didn't need to do anything, and would just receive money. That would be too good to be true. This was a very meticulous girl. However, she didn't understand him well enough and was afraid of hurting his self-esteem. He smiled slightly as he gave her an answer. "Thank you, Chi Wanqing. If I want to look for a job, I will definitely go to your cousin's company. To be honest, I really don't know how to do anything anyway." Yi Mo couldn't just reject Chi Wanqing's goodwill so straightforwardly. Even if he had wanted to work at her cousin's factory, he couldn't do so around this time. He still needed to grow his silver heart grass. Until it was fully ripe, he would not leave. "You don't need to do anything." As she said that, Chi Wanqing realized that her words were too obvious and quickly added, "You just need to walk around in the factory. Wait, Brother Yi, I'll give you my number. You should save it in your phone just in case." Chi Wanqing was prepared to give her number to Yi Mo, who simply replied, "Sorry, I don't have a phone." Chi Wanqing was stunned. Who didn't have a phone these days? But looking at Yi Mo's appearance and the fact that he didn't have a job, perhaps he couldn't afford one. Seeing Chi Wanqing's troubled look, Yi Mo smiled and said, "You just need to tell me once, and I will be able to remember." Chi Wanqing looked at Yi Mo with an air showing that she didn't really believe Yi Mo's words. Even if he remembered now, he would still forget later. She thought Yi Mo was just embarrassed to reject her. However, this didn't trouble her, and immediately thought of a way. She took out an exquisite hairbrush from her pocket and used a small knife to carve out some numbers on it before giving it to Yi Mo. Finally, she was relieved. Yi Mo took her brush that still had a faint aroma and looked at it. He smiled and said, "This number is really unique. Thank you, Qi Wanqing. If there is a time when I need a job, I will call this number for sure." Qi Wanqing seemed very delighted to see that Yi Mo accepted it, and immediately she said, "Brother Yi, could you not call me that way? It sounds weird to me. Just call me Wanqing from now on. Or, my dad calls me Xiaoqing. You could call me that way too." "Okay, Wanqing," Yi Mo said helplessly. He just heard her teammates call her Qi Wanqing. As she heard Yi Mo calling her Wanqing, Qi Wanqing seemed jubilant. She completely forgot about going back and instead continued her questioning. "Brother Yi, I heard from Guiqi that you were trying to find something around here. Did you find it?" Yi Mo shook his head and said, "Not yet, but it should be nearby. There should be 2 evergreen trees and a valley. I think the valley might be this place, but I haven't seen any evergreen yet." "Evergreen? I know. When we hid inside the valley, I saw a place with 2 evergreens. It isn't too far from here. Brother Yi, I'll take you there." Qi Wanqing suddenly felt pleased that she was able to help Yi Mo. Before Yi Mo could say anything, Lu Lin's voice resounded not far from where they were, and Qi Wanqing replied to her, "Sister Lin, I have some business with Brother Yi. I'll be back soon." Her voice sounded crisp and touching. Lu Lin was astonished. Since when did Qi Wanqing have such a cheerful spirit? Her tone was full of joy. Wasn't she always really cold? Did they? Lu Lin shook her head and turned away. She couldn't understand Qi Wanqing's change, no matter what. Qi Wanqing also stood up a bit shakily, but Yi Mo caught her and said, "I'll carry you." Yi Mo didn't have any ulterior motives. He just wanted to reach that place faster and see what that llama left behind. If he really could find large amounts of purple heartvine, it would be crucial to him. Thank you, Brother Yi." Qi Wanqing laid on Yi Mo's back without any protest. For her, since he had already seen her without her pants, carrying her wasn't such a big deal. She wasn't a shy girl, and Yi Mo highly approved of Qi Wanqing for that. He didn't know if all soldiers were so frank. There were 2 twirls of softness on his back, and although it was very comfortable, Yi Mo didn't think about doing anything else at all. "Captain Lu, did Brother Yi carry Qi Wanqing on her back? Did I see wrong?" Fong Wei stared at Yi Mo and Qi Wanqing with his eyes wide open. He rubbed his eyes. Qi Wanqing, who always didn't like talking to male squad members and was even constantly cold, actually let a man, who she saw for the first time, carry her on his back. This was too absurd. "You didn't see wrong. Now hurry up and pack up these guns. They must have some business, and we'll be back soon," Lu Lin said coldly. Guiqi also saw Yi Mo and Qi Wanqing disappear and nodded. Brother Yi is a heroic man. Although Wanqing is cold to people, perhaps it's because she hadn't met the right one for her yet, and who knows, it might be Brother Yi. They are a very good match. "Brother Yi, do you think I'm too unreserved?" Qi Wanqing, who laid on Yi Mo's back, suddenly said. Yi Mo almost stumbled and immediately said, "No, I really like your unrestrained personality. You are very frank about everything." Qi Wanqing hesitated. "Brother Yi, I'm usually really cold when I'm with my teammates. I don't really like to talk, and it's even possible that I didn't speak as much in a month with them than what I have said to you since we met. Ever since my parents divorced, I joined the army under my family's influence, and due to my father, I have a natural sense of rejection toward men. I don't know why, but Brother Yi, I feel a sense of nature and freedom on you. Those are things I have always longed. Therefore, it might be why I didn't have the feeling of rejection toward you. I'm not usually so unrestrained as you might have imagined. So," after finishing her sentence, Qi Wanqing looked worriedly at Yi Mo, afraid that Yi Mo wouldn't like her personality. Yi Mo smiled as he had understood what Qi Wanqing meant. She could sense the feeling of nature and freedom on him. This could only mean that she had a spiritual root, one making Yi Mo look at her through another lens. On this earth scarce of spirit chi, a place where cultivation resources were close to none, it was indeed hard to have a spiritual root. Live according to your own will. There's no need to compromise yourself for others. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. It's here. There really are two evergreens here. Yi Mo had just seen the two evergreens while talking to Qi Wanqing. Note 1. The spiritual root is the determining factor on whether you can cultivate and how fast you can cultivate. It allows the person to be naturally connected to the spirit chi in the world. Chapter 59. Tibetan Characters. Chapter 59. Tibetan characters, right? It is here. Qi Wanqing was also happy. It was as though she helped Yi Mo do something remarkable. Yi Mo put Qi Wanqing down and walked in between the two evergreen trees. And indeed, he found a lump on the ground. He found a wooden stick and carefully picked open the soil. There were a dead person's bones surrounded by a few rocks, and beside him was a plastic bag that was covered very tightly. However, many places in the plastic bag were starting to corrode. Yi Mo slowly picked the plastic bag with the stick and looked beside the bones, but found nothing else. The Lama must have placed this plastic bag in his clothes around the chest, and after the body had started to corrode, it fell off. Therefore, Fong Nen couldn't see it at the time. He slowly picked open the plastic bag, and inside was a map made out of the skin of a goat that was also starting to rot. However, this goatskin map seemed to have been specially made. Although it was rotting, the content on it could still be read clearly. Yi Mo stared carefully at the goatskin map for a while, and what looked like to be a desert appeared to have been drawn on it. There were even some characters that Yi Mo didn't recognize. Just when Yi Mo was troubled over the map of the desert and those strange characters, a faint aroma traveled into his nose, and a few strands of hair fell on his neck, making him a bit itchy. Yi Mo immediately realized that Qi Wanqing was looking at this map from behind him. Yi Mo moved aside and said with a troubled face, "I don't know these characters, and now I can't even move the map, or it would probably shatter into pieces." Because Yi Mo moved aside, Qi Wanqing immediately realized her intimate position. She was a bit awkward when she heard Yi Mo's words and hurriedly say, "Brother Yi, I know these characters. They're Tibetan characters. My grandfather stayed in Tibet for a long time before. He taught me these words. Wanqing, do you really understand these words? Hurry and tell me." Yi Mo was planning on to remember these words completely, but now that Qi Wanqing knew, he was immediately delighted. The characters on there are incomplete, but I can read a few: Ku Lake, Taklamakan, Luobiu, and Holy Door. However, I think that Taklamakan is probably referring to the biggest desert in our country, the Taklamakan Desert. This desert is also called the Sea of Death, and it is situated in southern Xinjiang in the Darim Basin. This map should be pointing there, and the route really looks like to be leading to the Darim Basin. Qi Wanqing interpreted all the characters on the map. However, due to the fractured nature of the map, the interpretation wasn't complete. However, she added in her own understanding. After hearing her words, Yi Mo mumbled to himself, "So that's where it leads." Looking at the direction on the map, it really does guide to that place. "Got it. Thank you, Wanqing." Qi Wanqing smiled sweetly and said, "Actually, I'm really happy that I could help you do some things. You don't need to thank me. I didn't really thank you before as well." "Oh, that's true." Yi Mo laughed and put the map and plastic back into the ditch and buried the bones again. When Yi Mo carried Qi Wanqing back again, Guiqi and the others had already organized the battle loots. Qi Wanqing suddenly felt that the eyes with which her teammates looked at her were a bit different. She wanted to explain things, but didn't know how to explain. Yi Mo put Qi Wanqing down and said, "I need to go. Let's separate here." "Ha! Brother Yi, you are leaving?" Hearing that Yi Mo was leaving them, Qi Wanqing suddenly felt a bit disappointed. Lu Lin looked at Qi Wanqing and suddenly said to Yi Mo, once you leave, I will need to carry Wanqing, but when I can't, she will need Feng Wei and Guiqi to carry her. What's that got to do with me? Yi Mo just trailed off, feeling Qi Wanqing's imploring look. He remembered how she had helped him this time, and how without her, even if he could remember the characters, he wouldn't know where to find someone who can translate for him. He didn't have much to do now, so he might as well go with them for a bit longer. Thinking about this, Yi Mo said, fine, in that case, I'll go with you guys for a bit longer. Wanqing, come on, let's move. Master, you call her in such an intimate way. Feng Wei walked over cheekily and said. Yi Mo swiped his hand and said, stop, I never told you that I was going to take you in as my disciple. Hearing that Yi Mo was willing to go with her a bit longer, Qi Wanqing rejoiced and hummed in approval before immediately laying on Yi Mo's back without any hesitation. Sigh, Wanqing, at least be a bit more reserved. Look at you. You just got on straight away. What can I say about you? Lu Lin looked at her with a shaming glare. Yi Mo quickly said, Captain Lu, don't say random things. There's nothing between us. I only just knew her just like you guys. Qi Wanqing was blushing and didn't dare to talk. She asked herself what she was doing just then. However, Yi Mo was the first person of the opposite sex other than her father that gave her a good feeling. She had been in the military for 3 years, so what sort of elites haven't she seen? Yet, never had anyone been able to leave her any impression. But today, this Yi Mo, who she saw for the first time, was able to leave an impression in her heart. Although she was very cold to people, she wasn't a reserved person due to her family influence. She wasn't good at masquerading her emotions, or maybe she simply didn't want to. So if she felt good about someone, then she did. And if she didn't, she didn't. If she didn't have this personality, she wouldn't have had a big argument with her family and left for the military herself. Therefore, she was very happy that Yi Mo stayed. If Sister Lin didn't make him stop, she would have found a way to do so herself. When she was in university, her grandmother told her, do not miss the opportunity only to regret it in the future. Yi Mo's eyes were clear and didn't have those obscure intentions that she didn't like. The main thing was that Yi Mo saved her, and he seemed to be really strong. For Qi Wanqing, Yi Mo was a pearl hidden amongst the grass. Since she discovered him, there was no reason to reject the idea of pursuit. Although he seemed really desolate now, one day he would soar high into the sky. Of course, this wasn't the main reason that she had a good feeling toward Yi Mo. It was mainly that Yi Mo had something on him that she longed for, this serenity, freedom, and this unexplainable spiritual cleanliness. She liked that feeling on him. It was something that couldn't be expressed with words. Knowing Qi Wanqing's cold personality, Guiqi didn't joke around with her even after Lu Lin said it. Guiqi was very respectful towards Yi Mo. In his eyes, Yi Mo was truly a man with great ability who kept a low profile. The forest between the borders of China and Yu was massive. Other than Captain Lu, who only carried Yi Mo's bag and felt that it was light, Guiqi and Feng Wei were all carrying tens of guns and the bone ashes of the 2 other squad members, and were slightly struggling. They only walked for an hour or so before it was dusk and decided to camp for one night before leaving. Because Lu Lin and the others were ambushed, they had lost a lot of things while escaping, so now only Yi Mo had a tent in his bag. This tent could only be given to Lu Lin and Qi Wanqing. Yi Mo and the other 2 could only sleep outside. However, Guiqi and Feng Nan were obviously experienced in outdoor survival. Soon, they cleared out a big patch of space and even set up a wooden tent. Chapter 60, Green-Eyed Small Snake. Chapter 60, Green-Eyed Small Snake. Elder Brother Yi, the tent is a bit shabby, but it's ready. At night, Xiang Feng, and I will be responsible for night duties. How about you go in and have a rest first? Guiqi came out and said. Yi Mo smiled and said, no need. You can leave the night guard duty to me. I like it outside at night. By the way, Brother Gua, you're older than me, so just call me Yi Mo from now on. Yi Mo felt that Guichi was a good person and valued team spirit, which made him want to be friends with him. He didn't like those heartless people. Okay, then I won't be too polite to you. However, you don't need to call me Brother Gua as well. The people in the army call me Chi. You can also call me that too. It's my honor to know you as a friend. No, I mean brother. What do you think, Brother Yi? Guichi was a frank person and didn't hesitate. Yi Mo nodded and said, "This is great." Thinking that Yi Mo was roasting rabbits in the forest leisurely, Guichi didn't insist. After all these days, he indeed was tired and went to rest with Fong Wei. Inside the tent, Lu Lin looked at the contemplative Qi Wanqing and asked, "Wanqing, what do you think of this Yi Mo?" Ha! Qi Wanqing, who was still immersed in her own thought, was caught off guard. But after her surprised exclamation, she quickly caught on and remained silent for a while before saying, "I think Brother Yi is a good person. He's really powerful and has some kind of Qi Wanqing repeated that for a long time, but still didn't finish articulating the words. Some kind of feeling I long for. Wanqing, you've come to the military for about 3 years, and, of course, I know why you came, but when women get older, they need to find some place to belong to, yet you've never shown a good face to any men in the military. 3 years ago, you were trying to avoid your father trying to marry you, or perhaps it was due to your mother. However, it has been 3 years already. Are you really prepared to be like this for your entire life? Sometimes, when fortune comes, you must not reject it." Lu Lin sighed. After a few moments, she continued, "That year, I just finished high school and was 19 years old, at the prime of my youth. I just started work at the State Literacy Department, where I met him. He was a handsome man. Not just me, but the other girls in our department liked him. However, he was really nice to me. He asked me out multiple times, and half a year later, he even proposed to me. At that time, I was just 19 years old, and I didn't know what to do when a 27-year-old man proposed to me. Although I liked him very much, I could only tell him I was still so young and asked him to wait. Half a year later, on my 20th birthday, he proposed to me once again. I still wanted to wait because I really felt I was still young and didn't dare to form a family. However, from that day on, I never saw him again. He had left. I waited for another year, but still haven't heard any news of him. At that time, I thought, as long as he appeared, I was willing to marry him immediately. However, he never appeared again, and I no longer had the will of working there again. So I came to the military. Wanqing, sometimes there is only one chance. If you lose it, there will be no more. There's no wrong in trusting me. I've seen all sorts of people in the military. Yi Mo doesn't seem like a sly person. His eyes aren't dodgy, he's just a little poor. With your family wealth, would you really care if he was wealthy or poor? Besides, there is the adage of not looking down on a youth who is poor. I think that if you really liked wealthy families, you wouldn't have rejected your family's will that time and came to the military. Lu Lin sighed contemplatively as if remembering what happened those years ago. Sister Lin, my feelings toward Brother Yi aren't what you say it is. My feelings are, I don't know how to explain it. I'll go check on Brother Yi. After saying that, Qi Wanqing was preparing to walk out of the tent. Wanqing, you can walk on your leg now. Lu Lin pointed at Qi Wanqing's leg and said in surprise, "Yes, actually after Brother Yi treated me, it wasn't long before I could walk. It was just that it would hurt after some time." Speaking up to hear, Qi Wanqing seemed to have thought of something and didn't dare to continue speaking as she rushed outside. She suddenly felt a burning sensation on her face as though she had been caught out. Seeing Qi Wanqing running out of the tent, Lu Lin seemed to be lost in thought. Wanqing looked like herself all those years ago, but Yi Mo didn't seem like the man she met at all. At this moment, Yi Mo was sitting on a rock not far away, contemplating. He was using his spirit sense to make out the map he saw today. Yi Mo had thought of the lines on the map countless times. gathered with the words Qi, Wanqing helped him interpret today. It was indeed the Taklamakan Desert. Although he hadn't been there yet, he had analyzed the map of China closely and roughly knew the main regions. However, he really had no idea where the Ku Lake was and even what that holy door was supposed to be. He knew clearly about the purple heart vine. It was a spirit wood that was used in many of the pills used during the Qi gathering state. Although it didn't have strict growth conditions, it would definitely not grow in the desert because the most important condition for the growth of these types of spirit wood was water. The Taklamakan Desert was the biggest desert in China, and its average yearly precipitation was less than 100 millimeters. During the worst years, there were barely a few millimeters of water. Although Yi Mo was deep in thought, he knew immediately when Qi Wanqing came out. He smiled and thought that even though the girl looked cold, she seemed to be growing on him. Just when Qi Wanqing didn't know how to speak to Yi Mo, she saw him turning around, smiling at her, which relieved her, as she quickly walked up to him. However, when Qi Wanqing walked behind Yi Mo, her face suddenly changed. A gray snake with a pair of eyes that flashed green lights was actually charging toward Yi Mo from behind him. Not good. Qi Wanqing heard that triangular-headed snakes were poisonous. However, this snake was not only triangular-headed but a sharp triangular. Without even thinking, Qi Wanqing jumped toward Yi Mo's back. The moment the green-eyed, triangular-headed snake attacked, Yi Mo felt it. If Qi Wanqing didn't charge over, he had a way to avoid it, but now if he wanted to drag Qi Wanqing out of the way too, that would be impossible. The green-eyed snake almost arrived at the same time as Qi Wanqing. She was just behind Yi Mo, while this green-eyed snake came from a few meters away, yet they would arrive at the same time. From this, it could be seen how fast this snake was. The gray snake accurately bit Qi Wanqing's back, which shocked Yi Mo, but he wasn't too worried as he thought that he could cure a poisonous snake bite. He turned and carried Qi Wanqing in his arms. Yi Mo saw the green-eyed snake posed not far away, wanting to attack a second time, and appeared to be targeting him this time. Anger surged up in Yi Mo as he raised his hand, and 3 metal nails flew out. Slip, slip. Unfortunately, none of the nails managed to pierce the snake's head. 2 of them glided off from its skin, and only one managed to scratch out a bloody gash. The green-eyed snake seemed to recognize that this person wasn't easy to mess with, and slithered away, disappearing almost immediately. Not good. This wasn't just a simple snake. Yi Mo realized it as Qi Wanqing's face had already become gray. Such intense poison, Yi Mo knew things were growing dire. At this moment, Lu Lin and Guiqi were already coming his way. Seeing the situation, they all knew that a venomous snake had bitten Qi Wanqing. Chapter 61. Was it just to repay a debt of gratitude? Chapter 61. Was it just to repay a debt of gratitude? I will save her. You guys take care. This type of snake wouldn't attack you. Then, Yi Mo took Qi Wanqing and rushed into the tent. Yi Mo knew that it wasn't a snake. It was called a bear cockroach. It looked like a snake, but it had 4 legs, and its eyes had a green glow in the dark, just like a wolf. Bear cockroaches were not only extremely fast, but ordinary people couldn't see them at all. Besides, their skin was abnormally tough, and normal attacks wouldn't do any damage to them at all. Moreover, the crucial point was that the bear cockroach was extremely venomous and couldn't compare to any other normal venom. The adult bear cockroach would eventually grow a pair of wings, so this one was obviously still in its adolescent state. However, what surprised Yi Mo the most was to actually find a bear cockroach on this earth scarce of spirit Qi. The bear cockroach wouldn't attack normal humans. They are only sensitive to plants and things that contain spirit Qi because this type of animal only loved to devour anything containing spirit Qi. Yi Mo immediately pulled down Qi Wanqing's top, but at this moment, he really didn't have time to worry about other things. Qi Wanqing had 2 holes from the bite on her back. The black qi had formed a line going up, making it oddly clear on Qi Wanqing's back. Yi Mo used his cultivated qi to push out the venomous blood before taking out some herbs, and using his cultivated qi to help her digest the herbs. The poison was finally under control, but Yi Mo knew that this was only a temporary measure. If the venom couldn't be completely removed, Qi Wanqing still wouldn't be able to survive even for an hour. But what could treat her? Yi Mo turned Qi Wanqing over, allowing her to lay in his arms while he was worried, thinking of a way to treat her. Qi Wanqing was still unconscious, and although the gray on her face didn't get any deeper, it was still quite obvious. Bear cockroaches liked to devour spirit plants, and the people they bit were not only poisoned, but would also lose their essence. It was just like life essence. If a person's life essence completely dissipated, they wouldn't be able to live long, even if the poison was cured. Qi Wanqing's case was a typical example of life force gradually dissipating. Even if he forced all the poison out of her body, she wouldn't be able to live. If it was in the cultivation realm, then any spirit pills could cure her. But here, there weren't even spirit herbs, much less spirit pills. Regardless of whether or not she helped him, Qi Wanqing was bitten because of him. If Yi Mo couldn't save her, his heart wouldn't be at rest. Besides, he had a good impression of Qi Wanqing. If only there were a spirit herb. If there was one, he could use it to recover her life essence, but unfortunately his silver heart grass was gone, and the ones he just grew hadn't even germinated yet. After a brief moment, he remembered the section of purple heart vine he had obtained recently and thought that he might still be able to cure Qi Wanqing using it. Thinking that his lucky meeting with a small section of a purple heart vine was going to be eaten by Qi Wanqing, Yi Mo was a bit unwilling to give it up. After all, if the silver heart grass couldn't be successfully grown, this vine would be of great use to him. However, thinking about how Qi Wanqing was in this state because of him, Yi Mo still decided to use the purple heart vine. Anyway, could he really watch her die and not save her when he had the means to? If Chua Aigua didn't mind giving this plant to him, why couldn't he, Yi Mo, give it to others? Was he, Yi Mo, a status higher than others? Thinking about this, Yi Mo felt ashamed of himself. Just when Yi Mo took out the purple heart vine and was thinking of a way to turn it into a serum for Qi Wanqing, he suddenly remembered that he had only eaten the silver heart grass for around a month. There would definitely still be some of the medicinal powers of the silver heart grass remaining in his blood. Plus, even if it wasn't the case, he was a cultivator, and there were constantly spirit qi in his blood, so it might even have a better effect than the purple heart vine. After all, Qi Wanqing couldn't straight up digest the purple heart vine, and she still needed Yi Mo's help in digestion, which was too troublesome. Thinking about this, Yi Mo slit his wrist without hesitation and directed the flow of blood toward Qi Wanqing's mouth. At the same time, he used his cultivated qi to help Qi Wanqing digest the medicinal powers of his blood. Qi Wanqing's face gradually returned to normal with visible speed. The black lines withdrew along the original track and spurted out from the wound on her back. The black blood was gradually flowing out of the wound until it started turning red. Yi Mo felt relieved that it had worked. It seemed that the medicinal powers of the silver heart grass were not completely digested by his body. Qi Wanqing suddenly felt a weird taste and opened her eyes. However, she saw Yi Mo's wrist trickling blood, and it was directly flowing into her mouth. It scared Qi Wanqing and made her scream as she hurriedly pushed Yi Mo's wrist away. As Yi Mo saw that Qi Wanqing was awake and the venom of the bear cockroach had been cured, he also stopped the blood from flowing from his wrist. "Brother Yi, you made me drink your." Qi Wanqing didn't dare to finish her sentence in shock. Yi Mo smiled and said, "It's all right. I often go to the hospital to donate blood. You had lost some blood, so it was necessary for me to donate some blood to you, so you don't need to worry about it." Perhaps I will need blood one day, and you can donate some for me as well. Yemo made it sound simple. It would be too complicated to tell her that there was some part of the silver heart grass remaining in his blood. Besides, she probably wouldn't understand these things that involved life essence and spirit chi, although Qi Wanqing didn't react to the situation in time. She knew that being bitten by a snake shouldn't result in loss of blood. Furthermore, even if it was blood donation, it shouldn't be donated in such a way. She felt touched by Yemo donating blood to her. However, she forgot that she received this wound due to Yemo. Thank you, Brother Yi. Qi Wanqing moved a little, and now realized that she was still in Yemo's arms. Her face immediately grew hot. Yemo also realized the situation, and hurriedly put Qi Wanqing down. You're fine now. Rest up for a while. That thing is very poisonous. I'll go look for it later. Yemo had a reason to search for that bear cockroach. Since there was a bear cockroach here, it meant that there might be some spirit herbs nearby, and besides, it was too rare to find a bear cockroach on Earth. This thing only usually appeared near places of dense spirit chi. However, Earth's spirit chi was relatively scarce. Seeing that Qi Wanqing's complexion returned to normal, Yemo reminded her, don't do something so dangerous next time. Did you know that I almost wasn't able to save you this time? Yemo's meaning was that this all could have been avoided if Qi Wanqing didn't charge over. The bear cockroach wouldn't have been able to land an attack on him. But if he had said this, it would seem a bit hurtful. After all, Qi Wanqing was trying to save him, and didn't know that Yemo could dodge it. No, if it happened again, I would still stop it. If you are poisoned, then it's all over. But if I am, you might still be able to save me. Although Qi Wanqing's voice was low, it was very firm. Yemo was stunned for a moment and felt touched. Then he immediately said, Nincompoop, if you are poisoned, I may not be able to save you. Today was very dangerous. You need to remember that next time. What if I couldn't save you? Qi Wanqing shook her head. Brother Yi, I don't understand these things. You saved me. I just don't want you to be bitten from the bottom of my heart. Even if you can't save me, I would still do it if something similar happened again. As if scared of Yemo's reproach, her voice was getting smaller and smaller. Yemo sighed, as he thought that this girl was really giving people a headache. He even doubted if he made the right choice in staying longer with them. Qi Wanqing's feelings towards him didn't seem to be as simple as repaying gratitude. Chapter 62. Why be used by her? Chapter 62. Why be used by her? When Yemo and Qi Wanqing came out, Lu Lin and the others had been worried sick waiting. They were relieved after seeing both coming out. This 6-man squad had already lost 2 members. If they lost Qi Wanqing here as well, it would be tragic. Besides, Qi Wanqing's identity wasn't ordinary. If something happened, Lu Lin's superior wouldn't be able to shoulder the consequences, much less Lu Lin. Luckily, they were fine now. Captain Lu, you guys rest for a bit first. I'm going to leave for a while. Yemo didn't wait for the others' reply, and just went straight into the forest since he was interested in this bear cockroach. Usually where the bear cockroach appeared, there were things like spirit herbs, and even if he couldn't find spirit herbs, it would still be good to capture this bear cockroach. Although bear cockroaches weren't spiritual beasts, it could bond with a master because it possessed some self-awareness, unlike other wild beasts that could only be kept as trained animals. Although this bear cockroach was useless to him, he could capture it and give it to Qi Wanqing. Qi Wanqing almost lost her life trying to save him just then. It was appropriate to find her a pet. Brother Yi, wait for me. I'll go with you. Qi Wanqing grabbed a torch and suddenly followed him. Guiqi was just about to stop Qi Wanqing, but was pulled by Lu Lin. Didn't you see that Qi Wanqing's is quite stuck to Yemo? Her cold personality is because of her family, but Yemo isn't an ordinary person, so he should be able to take care of Qi Wanqing. Don't stop her. Lu Lin paused for a moment, then continued. If someone like Yemo could join our Eagle Hunter squad, There wouldn't be a squad in the entire army that could triumph against us. Guichi shook his head. You said it yourself that he isn't an ordinary person, so I'm certain that he definitely won't join the army. Furthermore, I feel like he isn't someone who likes to be restrained, and perhaps only freedom is best suited for him. After pausing for a moment, Guichi continued, he may seem to wear simple clothes and is very casual in his mannerism. However, I believe that he is a proud person. Although his pride isn't like ordinary people's pride, which is shown on their face or hidden in their hearts, it is natural. He neither flaunts it nor conceals it. Perhaps even the wealthiest of second-generation youngsters clad in their best designer garments would feel inferior, like a mere side character, standing next to him. Brother Fong, how were you even able to get someone as strong as him to help us? Fong Wei asked with admiration. Ever since Yi Mo saved him, he had a great admiration for him and constantly wanted to become his disciple. Guichi smiled and simply answered, I just said that we're all Chinese people, and just like that he agreed. Brother Yi, wait for me. Qi Wanqing called out and followed. Yi Mo stopped and looked at Qi Waning. Why did you come over? This place is quite dark, and the moon isn't especially bright tonight, so it is still quite dangerous here. I'm going out to find something, but I'm coming back later. Your wound just healed. Why did you come over? Hurry and go back. Brother Yi, I guess that you definitely won't join our squad afterward, so when you leave, I wouldn't know when I would be able to see you again. I want to stay with you for a little while longer. Perhaps due to never having any friends of the opposite sex, Qi Wanqing was greatly dependent on Yi Mo, who had saved her life twice in a single day. Yi Mo was astonished for a moment. He felt that Qi Wanqing was over-reliant on him, which didn't suit her identity as a soldier. Perhaps she went to the army due to other reasons, but he didn't want to ask about that at this point. He just wanted to say, Idiot, I can come back and see you later, but when the words came to his mouth, he stopped. Would he really come back to see her after he left? That was impossible. His and Qi Wanqing's path were completely different. They had no intersections in life. How could they see each other again? Thinking about this, Yi Mo sighed and said, Fine, follow me then. After all, if he really captured the bear cockroach, he was going to give it to Qi Wanqing, and he had to make the ownership bond with Qi Wanqing. Thanks, Brother Yi. Then she excitedly grabbed Yi Mo's arm, and Yi Mo simply shook his head. Qi Wanqing was obviously still a naive girl, so it should have been really hard for her to come to the army and keep a cold face on every day. Perhaps school life was the most suitable for her. How many years have you been in the army? Why don't you go to school anymore? Yi Mo asked. In my second year of university, my grandpa forced me to marry a person I didn't like. I refused, but that person came to my school, and when I tried to speak about it to my father, he actually agreed with Grandpa. So I ran out secretly to find Uncle Jiang and joined the army. I never went back again, Qi Wanqing said dejectedly. Yi Mo was speechless. Why did these people all like to use marriage to strengthen their power? No matter where it was, these things continued to happen. But you can't stay in the army for your whole life, can you? When you go back, you will still be forced into decisions by your dad and granddad, Yi Mo said. I don't want to go back. My mom often comes to see me, and she also helped me open. Qi Wanqing shut her mouth just in time. She almost said that the company she wanted Yi Mo to go earlier was hers and not her cousin. Then she suddenly asked, Brother Yi, someone as outstanding as you should have a girlfriend already, right? Yi Mo smiled as he said, I'm a jobless, wandering person. How can I be outstanding? Girlfriend? I don't have one, but I do have a wife. Hee hee. Ah, you're married. Qi Wanqing suddenly felt hollow in her heart, a sudden sense of loss that just couldn't be described. Yi Mo didn't notice Qi Wanqing's state and explained, she should be about the same as you. She didn't want to marry someone else, so she faked her marriage to me. I'm just helping her out. If one day you want me to help you, I would be happy to do so. Yemo laughed at himself. What? Brother Yi, you have a fake marriage, and that woman is using you? How could there be such a bad woman? Qi Wanqing immediately felt indignant upon hearing this. A woman would even use someone like Brother Yi, she thought, and said, Brother Yi, why would you let yourself be used by her? Just ignore such women. Why be used by her? Yi Mo's complexion suddenly seemed gloomy. He thought about his poor Master Luoying and didn't know how she was doing now. As long as there was the slightest sliver of Luo Ying's image, he was willing to be used. The reason he helped Ning Qingxue might be hidden in the depth of his heart, but he hoped that if one day his master was in trouble, there would be someone like him willing to help her. Sorry, Brother Yi, I won't ask you. Qi Wanqing saw Yi Mo's look of melancholy and immediately understood that he must have had some special reason to do so. Yi Mo was surprised as he bent over and looked at a mushroom that was partly consumed. There really was spirit herbs here. Although the Yi mushrooms weren't spirit herbs, they still contained small amounts of spirit qi, which seemed to have attracted the bear cockroach. What's wrong, Brother Yi? Qi Wanqing saw Yi Mo stop and asked, Don't say a word. I can already see it. Yi Mo's spirit sense locked onto the bear cockroach a few meters away. It had also obviously noticed Yi Mo. However, it didn't move, as it seemed to be sure that Yi Mo wouldn't be able to discover him, no matter what, and therefore wasn't scared. Chapter 63. Departure. Chapter 63. Departure. Wanqing, come to my left side. Yi Mo made Qi Wanqing move to his left side because the right side was where the bear cockroach was hiding. This guy was hiding under a rock with his eyes staring at Yi Mo and Qi Wanqing. Not only did he not escape, but he was instead trying to find an opportunity to attack Yi Mo. Of course, Qi Wanqing didn't know what Yi Mo had meant. But since Yi Mo told her to go left, she immediately went on the other side. Yi Mo knew that the bear cockroach was sly, so he pulled Qi Wanqing, pretending not to see it moving past by its side. The bear cockroach saw Yi Mo showing his back, so it slowly moved closer toward him and was prepared to suddenly attack him when he was the closest possible to its position. Why being so careful? Qi Wanqing asked quietly. Yi Mo didn't answer, but suddenly turned and made a grabbing move with his hands in midair. His movements were extremely fast, so much so that Qi Wanqing wasn't even able to react. Gee! With a sharp shriek, the bear cockroach that jumped and attacked Yi Mo was caught in his hands in midair, as though it had placed itself there. If Yi Mo didn't use some qi in his hands, he really wouldn't have been able to catch this fast creature. Feeling the intense struggle of the bear cockroach, Yi Mo immediately said, Wanqing, hurry up and bite open the tip of your finger. Quick, this thing is really strong. The bear cockroach knew it was tricked and struggled more fiercely. If he didn't catch it with his own hands, Yi Mo definitely wouldn't have thought that it could have such power. And this was only a young bear cockroach. Qi Wanqing saw the green eye and immediately felt scared. Cold sweat trickled down her body. She wasn't really scared about herself, but about Yi Mo getting bitten. However, hearing Yi Mo's yell, she quickly reacted, and although she didn't know the reason why, she still quickly bit open her finger. Meanwhile, Yi Mo took out a knife and slit open a gash in the middle of its head. As blood trickled out, Yi Mo held Qi Wanqing's finger and dropped the blood from her fingertip into the gash. His hands continuously made different hand signs, as though he was using some magical art on a little snake-like creature. Qi Wanqing looked at Yi Mo's actions in shock and didn't dare to speak. She could already see the sweat beads trickle from Yi Mo's forehead and wanted to wipe them for Yi Mo, but she was scared that she would interrupt him, especially since she had no idea what Yi Mo was doing. His hand gesture seemed mysterious, as though it was mystical. However, Qi Wanqing believed in him. The struggling bear cockroach gradually calmed down before eventually stopping. After being dropped by Yi Mo, it immediately ran towards Qi Wanqing's feet. But not only that, it even used its sharp head and rubbed itself against Qi Wanqing's shoe as though a sign of intimacy. Qi Wanqing was just staring tensely at Yi Mo and didn't expect the snake to run over so suddenly and was evidently frightened. Luckily, Yi Mo's voice resounded in time. Now, it has been subdued by me, but because you don't have a spirit sense, you can only make it understand you through words. Don't worry. It won't attack anyone unless you give the order to. Yi Mo knew Qi Wanqing wasn't a cultivator and therefore didn't have a spirit sense. So although he made the bear cockroach sign a slave pact with her, she could only command it through words. It would take a long time for her to be able to command it only with her will. Brother Yi, how do you know something like this? It sounds weird and mystical. As Qi Wanqing saw that the bear cockroach really didn't seem to have the intention to attack her, she was finally able to calm her heart. Yi Mo smiled and said, "This is the method used amongst common people, and I have learned a bit of it. However, you can't train every animal with this. It's only doable for a few special animals, and this bear cockroach is one of them." Bear cockroach? Qi Wanqing didn't think that this snake-looking thing had such a strange name. "I'll call it Little Wolf from now on. It won't bite others, right?" Qi Wanqing suddenly found it interesting but was still worried about the ferocity of the bear cockroach. Not everyone could save someone bitten by that creature like Yi Mo did with her. It won't. Yi Mo knew that even without taming it, it wouldn't bite ordinary people, as it was mostly attracted to Qi, much less after signing the slave pact with her. He thought for a moment and continued, "From now on, you just need to feed it some bamboo shoots, or you can allow it to find food itself. Most people wouldn't even be able to shadow of the bear cockroach anyway." Yi Mo and Qi Wanqing returned to the campsite, and when the others saw the creature, they were amazed that Yi Mo was able to capture such a strong pet for Qi Wanqing. They kept observing the bear cockroach, and eventually Lu Lin suggested that Qi Wanqing should make a small linen bag to keep the bear cockroach close to her. Originally, Yi Mo was planning to leave after accompanying them out of the forest. However, because of Qi Wanqing, Yi Mo didn't even mention leaving once, but simply continued to follow the group. Although Qi Wanqing really liked staying on Yi Mo's back, she had completely recovered now and felt embarrassed to continue staying on his back, so she got off and walked herself. In the next few days, Yi Mo would teach some techniques to Feng Wei each day, and later on, Guiqi and Lu Lin also came to learn. The things Yi Mo taught were all easy to learn and very practical. He even taught them some simple breathing techniques, although they wouldn't be able to cultivate qi with this. If they persisted for some time, they would be able to produce some inner force. "Sister Qi, why don't you come and learn?" That night, after Guiqi had set up a simple place for them to stay, and the time to learn from Yi Mo was coming, since Feng Wei saw that Qi Wanqing wasn't coming, he invited her. Lu Lin smacked Feng Wei on the head. "Wanqing will be taught privately by Yi Mo. What are you blabbering about?" Qi Wanqing, who was just playing with Little Wolf, immediately blushed. She looked at Yi Mo once, but didn't even try to explain anything. Yi Mo smiled faintly, but didn't rebuke Lu Lin's words. However, he didn't have the intentions of teaching Qi Wanqing privately. Maybe if there were a pen and some paper, he would probably write some breathing techniques for her, but since there weren't any, he gave up on the thought. Yi Mo had a great impression of Qi Wanqing, since she was willing to risk her life to save him. Besides, even though Qi Wanqing was in the army, she seemed to stick to him quite heavily. However, only Yi Mo knew that nothing would happen between him and Qi Wanqing, as he already had Luo Ying in his heart, and no matter how extraordinary other girls were, they wouldn't be able to capture his heart. The only reason he caught a bear cockroach for her was to repay her for saving his life. Nevertheless, the bear cockroach was quite an important thing to Yi Mo now, since after all, his power wasn't quite high right now, and a lot of people were stronger than him. With the help of Bear Cockroach, he would be much safer. However, in order to repay Qi Wanqing's goodwill, he still gave it to her. On the 11th day, this temporary team had finally encountered people who had come to meet the squad. Therefore, Yi Mo was going to bid them farewell. Brother Yi, if you have time, you really need to remember to help my cousin at Luo Tsang. Qi Wanqing couldn't let him go the most, and felt as though she lost something when Yi Mo left. However, she didn't have any valid reason to make him stay. She could only hope that Yi Mo would go to the company her mother gave her, and perhaps she would find an opportunity to leave the army and go back there too. Yi Mo felt helpless as he saw Qi Wanqing's expectant look. He couldn't bear to disappoint her, so he could only nod to agree. However, he knew that after separating with them this time, it would probably be very hard for them to see each other again, because he needed at least a few years' time to cultivate his silver heartgrass. Seeing Yi Mo's back gradually disappear into the forest, Qi Wanqing suddenly felt a deep sense of loss and disappointment in her heart. Her mood reached rock bottom once again. Chapter 64. Yi Mo's Rage. Chapter 64. Yi Mo's rage. When Yi Mo went back to Flowing Snake by himself, his speed was a lot faster. Even adding the time when he had to go out of his way to collect some herbs, he only spent 3 days to get back to his temporary residence in Flowing Snake. However, the scene that entered his eyes as he arrived infuriated him. It had only been 20 days, but his place had been ruined. The walls were broken everywhere, but the most important part was the patch of land where he had plowed to grow his silver heartgrass was utterly destroyed. Crack! Yi Mo kicked a large rock with his feet, and using his qi, the rock was actually shattered into countless pieces. His most valuable possession was the silver heartgrass, and he had tried to cultivate 19 seeds here. However, this place had been decimated just like this. What was Fong Nan doing? Just when Yi Mo was prepared to look for an explanation from Fong Nan, a person quickly ran over. This individual had seen Yi Mo standing in front of the Ragged Pagoda and hurried over and respectfully said, "Brother Yi, Brother Nan made me wait here for you. You're finally back." This was a youth in his 20s, and Yi Mo still remembered him. He was called Rock and was the one who stood behind Fong Nan when Yi Mo first went to see him. Yi Mo suppressed the anger inside his heart. The silver heartgrass was more important than anything, but now half of it was gone. How could he not be angry? However, he wasn't a person to go into a tantrum before fully understanding the situation, but someone will pay with his life for his silver heartgrass. Seeing the dark look on Yi Mo's face, he quickly said, "Brother Yi, after you left, Brother Nan and another big gang in Flowing Snake, the Yu Gang, fought over the distribution of benefits of those left behind by the 13 turbos. Originally, Brother Nan wouldn't be afraid of the Yu Gang. However, the Yu Gang went against the rules and rallied with the Fei Gang to ambush our Pu Dao clan. Brother Nan was heavily wounded and taken here by our brothers to recover. However, he was still attacked by the Yu and Fei Gang. In the end, only a few brothers and Nong Brother made it out. Nong Brother told me to wait here for Brother Yi to apologize to you." Yi Mo listened through Rock's words with a pale face, not replying for a long time. He understood that if Fong Nan didn't come here, perhaps his silver heartgrass wouldn't have been destroyed, so maybe Fong Nan was using this method to force Yi Mo to help him out. If Fong Nan was actually trying to make Yi Mo angry at the Yu Gang, so he would destroy them, then he really wouldn't mind annihilating Pu Dao clan too. Yi Mo walked into the yard. That patch of land was trampled all over, but Yi Mo still managed to find a few seeds. Seeing those seeds made Yi Mo calmer. However, He realized that even if that event didn't happen, he wouldn't be able to grow the silver heart grass here because the few seeds he had found were all rotten and didn't have any signs of germination. It seemed that this silver heart grass could only be cultivated in certain places. He didn't even know why the place he had been living at before could grow a silver heart grass. "Take me to Fong Nan." Yi Mo turned around and said coldly to Rock. His face had returned to complete calm. Fong Nan was extremely devastated right now and was hiding in a far-off cave. Including Rock, only 6 people were remaining. As he saw Yi Mo walking in, Fong Nan struggled to get up with a face filled with guilt. From Yi Mo's attitude toward the place, he could see how important it was for him. Yet not only was he unable to guard it, but the place was also destroyed because of him. If something similar were to happen again, he would never allow his brothers to take him there to hide. Seeing Fong Nan struggling to get up with guilt in his eyes, Yi Mo only waved his hand. "This isn't your fault. Let me have a look at your wound first." Fong Nan had been injured during a gunfight. Although he was shot twice, it was not a problem for Yi Mo to heal him at all, and in less than half an hour, he had already treated Fong Nan's wounds completely. "I'm going to have a look around Flowing Snake to see who destroyed my stuff. You can rest up here in the meantime. You will be able to return to Flowing Snake at night." When he saw that Fong Nan was better, Yi Mo stood up, and as he was about to leave, the tone he expressed himself with made everyone who heard him frigid. Fong Nan immediately said, "Brother Yi, this thing was caused by me, so even if I die, I can't let you go to Flowing Snake while I sleep here." Yi Mo smiled faintly. "In that case, you can come with me." To him, these gangs formed by desperados really didn't have nothing to do with him. There wouldn't be a problem even if Fong Nan came with him. Flowing Snake. Inside the semicircle stone house that originally belonged to Fong Nan, the Yu Gang and the Fei Gang that had encircled the border of China were also here. The big boss of the Yu Gang spoke in a fluent Chinese I've long despised, that Fong Nan from the Pu Dao clan. "Although we didn't manage to kill him, we kicked him out of Flowing Snake this time, which makes me feel at ease. We were really fortunate to have Boss Pu this time. Come, with this glass, I now represent the Yu Gang to toast in your honor." "All right, but we will also be living in Flowing Snake in the future, and we hope Supreme Chancellor Wang will help us out a little." The boss of the Fei Gang sitting on the opposite side of the Yu Gang with black skin. Although he was speaking Chinese, he was stuttering a little. He obviously knew that he wouldn't be able to live at Flowing Snake if he couldn't even speak Chinese. Supreme Chancellor Wang smiled and replied, "No worries, no worries. We each take half of the land and business left behind by Fong Nan, since it is what we had already agreed beforehand." This Supreme Chancellor Wang was the leader of the Yu Gang, Wang Xian. He didn't like to be referred to as gang leader and instead preferred the title Supreme Chancellor. Under such discussions, the atmosphere in the room was extremely cheerful. Thud, thud. However, 2 discordant sounds disrupted the scene as 2 bodies fell on the table where the 2 gang leaders had just drunk a toast. These were the bodies of the 2 guards outside. In that instant, the entire room became deadly silent. Yet quickly the tens of people in the room reacted and started flourishing their weapons, preparing for the upcoming battle. "Who are you? Why did you kill my men for no reason?" Supreme Chancellor Wang had his hands on his pistol. No matter what, this person killed his men, so he was going to make him pay for it. Yi Mo sneered and scanned the people in the room. There were about 40 to 50 people, with more than 10 people with a black skin and 2 were white. After taking a glance at the people in the room, he simply asked, "Did you destroy the temple I was living at?" He actually came for a broken-down pagoda. The face of Supreme Chancellor Wang darkened and pulled out his hand as he yelled, "Brothers, fire! Finish this son of a B*****. Chapter 65. What is really cruel? Chapter 65. What is really cruel? Thud, 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 Thud. 4 consecutive sounds of broken bones could be heard as the 4 quickest men, who charged at Yi Mo, were kicked flying. It would be extremely hard to tell which one received the first kick, and even those with good eyes were only able to see a few blurred kicks. The rest of the men who wanted to charge up were knocked by these 4 people and crashed into the stone wall. Everyone else froze, wondering how the man could be so strong as the damages dealt were already so big. A youth behind the leader of the Yu gang reacted quickly by taking out a gun with the intent to shoot at Yi Mo. However, a light gust of wind blew past him, and before his fingers could even touch the trigger, there was a bloody hole on his forehead as he collapsed on the ground and died with his eyes wide open. Silence. At this moment, no one even dared to make the slightest move. This man came to the door and killed 5 people in a few breaths of time, and this didn't even include the 2 he had killed at the door before. He killed that many people, but they didn't even see him move once. The leader of the Yu gang finally caught on the situation. He realized that this young man was a dangerous one and was definitely one of these special masters, so he hurriedly said, "Friend, there must be a misunderstanding between us. Although we damaged that pagoda, we really didn't know that place was yours. Please, I'm willing to pay double for your losses." Yi Mo sneered and raised his hand. The 2 black men from the Yu gang who wanted to open fire had suddenly a hole appearing in each of their foreheads as they fell to their death. Meanwhile, the pistols in their hands flew out a long distance away. This time, Wang Xian managed to catch a glimpse of his movement. The young man barely raised his hands, but this simple movement resulted in 2 immediate deaths. The objects he shot out seemed to be faster than bullets. This person was too strong. Pay for my losses? Can you even afford it? Besides, you hurt my friend Fong Nan and killed his men. Even if you could afford it, I'll make you go back to where you came from today. Yi Mo didn't waste any more time talking as the metal nails in his hands flew out like hail. There were a lot of people, and Yi Mo's spirit sense wasn't powerful enough right now. If everyone attacked him at the same time, his spirit sense wouldn't be able to cover it all, and he might be injured. Since he was planning to fight anyway, he might as well get rid of a few men before they could react. Brothers kill him. In an extremely short period of time, more than 10 people had already died. After that yell, Wang Xian hid behind the others and looked for a window from which he could escape from. Wang Xian had initially thought that this stone house was grandiose, but because of the situation they were in right now, it became the place he loathed the most. If it had been some other house, there would probably have been a back door or a hidden passage in case of an emergency like this. However, not only there weren't a single door he could use to escape, but the windows inside that stone house were so tight that it would be extremely complicated for a man to go through. His only choice was to try pulling out one of the windows, but even after a long time, he still wasn't able to move it. Blood was spewed, and the sound of gunshots and knives clashing into each other was resounding all over the stone house. The scene quickly erupted into pandemonium. However, Yi Mo guarded the door and didn't let a single person escape. Although Yi Mo had a spirit sense and he attacked very fast, usually killing those with guns first while dodging the flying knives, there were simply too many people attacking him. His spirit sense couldn't cover it all, and he wasn't able to avoid one bullet that lodged itself in his leg. However, at the same time he had been shot, the shooter was killed by Yi Mo. Although the gun wound wasn't serious enough to threaten his life, it seriously annoyed Yi Mo, and the metal nails started to fly out even faster. A few minutes later, the rustling noise in the room stopped, other than Wang Xian, who was still trying to pick the window open. Even the leader of the Yu gang was laying on the ground, dead. The stone house was full of bodies, and yet there weren't much blood stains. This was because Yi Mo always took care of them with one nail. Yi Mo took out the bullet lodged in his leg and treated his wound. Then he stared coldly at Wang Xian near the window and said, "I don't think you need to try anymore. Do you think you can still escape now?" Hearing Yi Mo's words, Wang Xian suddenly looked behind him. Immediately, His hands and feet went cold. A single thought lingered in his mind. What sort of person did I offend? More than 40 people against one. But none of them lived? Well, it's more like other than him. Everyone else had been killed. It took him a long time before he could even say another word. Please, have mercy on me. I'm willing to give you everything I have. And I am also willing to be your subordinate. Wang Xian had killed countless people, but when it was his turn, he finally realized death was such a scary thing. Fong Nan, I'll leave this to you. You can deal with this one. Yi Mo turned back to leave. Fong Nan and a few of his henchmen were waiting outside nervously, and when he heard Yi Mo calling out to him, he asked his men to help him go inside. At this moment, Yi Mo had already left. Fong Nan looked at the scene in the room and couldn't close his mouth for a long time. The room was full of bodies, except for Wang Xian, who was shaking right now. Fong Nan suddenly felt a cold shiver down his back as he thought, "What is cruel? This is really cruel." He had killed countless people but had never killed this much by himself. And yet, Yi Mo left calmly as though nothing had happened. For him, murder was as simple as breathing. No wonder he scared so much someone as ruthless as Wang Xian that he couldn't stop shivering. When he killed, it was the brawls between gangs. It appeared to be very scary with blood flying around, but they were mostly light wounds, and not a lot of people died. There never had been someone who could kill the opponent's entire gang. However, Yi Mo had killed all of these people, and yet still appeared like usual. As though he had just killed a few chickens, his face remained expressionless. Then, Fong Nan suddenly thought of the day when Yi Mo came to this place with him, and sweat ran down his back. If he had just acted a little tougher that day and had some bad intentions, there wouldn't be a Fong Nan in this world. Fong Nan had never seen someone so strong. At the same time, he had never seen someone so ruthless. Luckily, he respected Yi Mo from the bottom of his heart and had tried to be friends with him. Otherwise, Fong Nan didn't even dare to think about it. "Leader Fong, have mercy. I'm willing to give you all of my assets. I just want you to spare my life." Wang Xian's plea interrupted Fong Nan's contemplation. "Immediately kill this bastard and clean up the bodies in the room. Rock, immediately come with me to see Brother Yi." Fong Nan left the things here to his men, as he only wanted to check on Yi Mo, Brother Yi. Fong Nan was carried by 2 men as he came to Yi Mo and called out to him respectfully. Originally, Yi Mo was just someone strong and mysterious in Fong Nan's eyes who deserved his respect, but now Yi Mo was more someone he feared. "Fong Nan," Yi Mo seemed to be deep in thought. "Brother Yi, I'm here." Fong Nan hurriedly replied. Thinking of a moment, Yi Mo said, "Originally, I was planning to live here for a while, but I didn't think that some things wouldn't go according to plan. So, I will simply leave." "Brother Yi, you're leaving? I can immediately help you build back the place that was destroyed," Fong Nan quickly said. He thought that Yi Mo was leaving because the pagoda was destroyed. Yi Mo waved his hand. "Fong Nan, right now, you decide what happens in Flowing Snake. I know what you do to make a living, but don't cross the line. As for blocking the road and robbing, don't do it if you can. Business is easy at the national border. However, I hope you won't do any drug business. These sorts of things harm only yourself and the others. This is all I have to say. Perhaps I will come back one day." After finishing, Yi Mo turned to leave without the slightest hesitation. He didn't want to stay at a place where the silver heart grass couldn't grow. Even if he had to hide from the Song family, he wouldn't do it at the price of inhibiting the progress of his cultivation. Fong Nan was a decent person and helped him out quite a lot, but if he couldn't even control Flowing Snake in its current state, then he wouldn't have the right to stay here. After Yi Mo walked out a long distance, Fong Nan finally awoke and said, "Brother Yi, I definitely will do as you say." Yi Mo didn't ask him for someone to escort him back, so he didn't dare to make that decision himself. Chapter 66. Where did he go? Chapter 66. Where did he go? Ning Qingxue had already bought the place where Yi Mo used to live before. She felt that staying in Yu State was a torment and wanted to find Yi Mo, but she had no idea where he went. Ning Qingxue, who could no longer remain in Yu State, returned to Ninghai, and although she came back to this small yard once again, and the place didn't change, the person wasn't there anymore. Su Wei didn't know that the property had been bought by Ning Qingxue and still lived in her original room. However, recently there were people constantly questioning her and investigating the surrounding, and eventually they even took away all the surveillance computers. Su Wei had a feeling that this was related to Yi Mo, thinking back to the time she spent with Yi Mo together. She just remembered that she didn't even know what Yi Mo did. Su Wei, who just opened the door and was prepared to go out shopping, suddenly saw Ning Qingxue standing at the doorway by herself. She was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously, "What are you doing here?" Ning Qingxue knew that Su Wei held a negative opinion of her, but she didn't feel that Su Wei was wrong. In her opinion, her understanding of Yi Mo was even less than Su Wei. "I'm living here because the rental period isn't over." Ning Qingxue didn't want to let her know that she had bought the house. If she did say it, then Su Wei would probably move out of here immediately. However, Ning Qingxue wanted things to be the same as they had been before, yet she knew this was impossible. Even if everything else was the same as the original, Yi Mo was no longer here. Su Wei wanted to say something to Ning Qingxue, but she didn't know what Yi Mo and Ning Qingxue's relationship was like. Besides, Yi Mo did pay for a year's rent here, so she didn't say anything in the end. However, she didn't want to stay any longer, so she left to pick up some groceries. Ning Qingxue went back to the room, looking at the place that looked exactly the same as before, which left her with an indescribable feeling of sadness. That bed, she was even laying down with Yi Mo and took photos on it. She had even tried to go farther into the act, which had even been noticed by Li Mume at the time. Was that feeling before her true intentions? After sitting on the bed for a while, Ning Qingxue cleaned up the room, leaving everything exactly where they were. However, Yi Mo's small medical case was still in her luggage. For her, that was perhaps the last thing that Yi Mo left behind. She opened up Yi Mo's medical case again, and finally, she couldn't resist to take out Yi Mo's letter anymore. She had always resisted the temptation of opening it, but this time, after coming back to the place where she had lived with Yi Mo, the temptation was too strong for her. As soon as she opened it, a beautiful yet strong handwriting entered her eyes. Ning Qingxue didn't think Yi Mo's handwriting would look so bold, as if it would come out of the paper. "Hello, Shixiu. I left this letter for you before I left. Originally, there were some things I wanted to give you, but you hadn't been to school lately. Coming here, I was a lonely person, and you were my only friend. I was kicked out of my family, and my original father-in-law had broken off the engagement in front of everyone. The only friend that hadn't left me was you, so I consider you as my true friend. In fact, the thing I'm most grateful for was that day when you woke me up. If you hadn't done it, perhaps I would never have been able to wake up ever again. Sigh, I don't have a place to live anymore for these past few days, so it's inconvenient to write, but when I have found a place to settle down again, I'll write another letter to you. This is it for now." The letter stopped suddenly, but Ning Qingxue knew that the reason Yi Mo didn't have a place to live was because of her, and felt even gloomier. He was a lonely person, but she had hurt him even more. Now, she was also a lonely person. Ning Qingxue packed up the things and left the room. Su Wei had come back but went to wash the veggies and didn't talk to Ning Qingxue anymore. Ning Qingxue walked to the flower pots where Yi Mo grew flowers in the backyard. She wanted to care for this place and grow some flowers too. A fresh bud made Ning Qingxue look at it for a long time. The place where his small bud grew was the place where the silver heart grass grew before. Ning Qingxue remembered that the grass with a silver color in the middle was cherished greatly by Yi Mo, but also remembered that after the grass had disappeared, Yi Mo was gone as well. Was this bud that grass from before? Ning Qingxue once again carefully fenced up the surrounding of this grass, creating a protection that looked exactly like the one Yi Mo made before. No matter whether this grass was the same one Yi Mo grew before, Ning Qingxue decided she would care for it because its place was the same as that plant from before. Su Wei had cooked food, and when she saw that Ning Qingxue was still taking care of the flowers in the garden, she felt intrigued. Was her relationship with Yi Mo really more than ordinary? Otherwise, why would their interests be so similar? I've already cooked some food. How about you eat here as well? Su Wei had prepared food and said to Ning Qingxue, who was still doing gardening, "Thank you, I'm not very hungry," Ning Qingxue replied, but suddenly after thinking for a while, she asked Su Wei, "Did Yi Mo eat with you frequently?" Yi Mo. Su Wei didn't know why Ning Qingxue would ask this, but she still answered, "He only ate once with me and said that he was going to invite me out to eat. But now he still hasn't invited me and left without a notice. By the way, Ning Qingxue, what's your relationship with Yi Mo?" Ning Qingxue could say another word. Yeah, what was her relationship with Yi Mo? They were no longer engaged, since the marriage was a fake. She had no relationship with Yi Mo at all now, so what was she doing here? After a week, Su Wei astoundingly discovered that Ning Qingxue's lifestyle was shocking similar to Yi Mo's. They were both very shy one and almost never went out. Furthermore, they had a similarity, which was their love of growing flowers. Ning Qingxue often watched beside the flower pots, and when she did, it was usually the whole day, and actually didn't feel bored. The only difference was when Yi Mo lived here before, there was basically no one who came, but after Ning Qingxue lived here, that Li Mumei came quite a few times, and even someone called Su Jingwen came. Su Jingwen's beauty also gave Su Wei a little shock. She didn't know why there were suddenly so many beautiful women coming. In a private mansion of the Song family in Beijing, the manager of external matters, Song Hai, was immersed in staring at a map. A few days ago, he received a report saying that a youth looking strikingly similar to Yi Mo went into the town of Fengtang and went on a bus leaving toward Qi City. However, according to the driver, that person got off before even reaching Qi City. The place he got off was approximately in the Gui-Xiang mountain range. However, the trail was cut off here once again. What Song Hai was staring at right now was the map of the Gui-Xiang mountain range. This place was full of forests and mountains. If Yi Mo was really hiding there, it would be quite troublesome to find him. Ring, ring. Song Hai's phone rang and broke his train of thought. Song Hai frowned. He had exhausted himself mentally recently trying to find Yi Mo, and a phone call at this time made him feel uncomfortable. "What is it?" Song Hai picked up the phone and asked impatiently. "Master Hai, Ning Qingxue from the Ning family had come to Ning Hai and moved into Yi Mo's previous home. What do we do now? Master Hai, please enlighten us." The phone came from the people he sent to Ning Hai in order to watch out for Yi Mo. However, he didn't think that they would be surveilling Ning Qingxue. Instead, Yi Mo. Song Hai rubbed his head and replied after a while, "Keep an eye on her, but don't make any move yet. If there still isn't any news in a few days, find a few hoodlums and take her away." "Yes, Master Hai," a very straightforward voice responded. Song Hai put down the phone and sneered as he talked to himself. "I won't touch the Ning family for now, but can I touch you, Ning Qingxue? You will see what happens next." Notes. 1. As a reminder, Zhai means the habit of staying home constantly and not going out. You can find a similar term in a few Japanese novels, hikikomori. Chapter 67. Injury. Chapter 67. Injury. Ning Qingxue woke up later than Su Wei each day. But when Ning Qingxue woke up this morning to clean herself, she discovered that Su Wei didn't go to work, so she couldn't help but to ask, Su Wei, you're not working today? Today's a rest day. Qingxue, don't you get bored looking at those flowers all day long? Due to having the experience of living together for a week, Su Wei and Ning Qingxue gradually got to know each other. So Su Wei wasn't as cold as she had been at the start. Ning Qingxue shook her head. Nope. I feel great looking at them growing each day. Su Wei was amazed for a moment, as she really couldn't understand Ning Qingxue's actions, since even when Yi Mo was growing these flowers, he wasn't as much into this as her. At most, he spent some time of the day to look after it, and the rest of the time he spent it on other things. Su Wei, who was just about to say something, was frightened by the door that was suddenly bumped open and dropped the tub in her hands. Two ferocious-looking men charged in, but were surprised to see the frightened Su Wei, as they didn't expect that the person living with Ning Qingxue didn't go to work that day. However, their surprise was gone in a flash, and they didn't look at her anymore. Tisich, you deceived us and stole my money, and now you're hiding here. Come, go back with me. One man was going to pull Ning Qingxue, who wanted to dodge, but she didn't expect this man to take out a wooden stick with the intent to swing it toward a flower pot. Meanwhile, he was still yelling, How dare you stole my money and hide here to grow flowers? I'm going to smash all of them. No. Ning Qingxue saw the stick was about to hit one of the flower pots, and with that strike, even a metal flower pot would be shattered. She was so scared that she didn't even think before she just put herself in front of the flower pots. Puff! The stick directly hit on Ning Qingxue's unprotected back. Spew! Ning Qingxue spewed out a mouthful of blood on the flower pots and fainted immediately. Su Wei screamed and immediately tried to call the police. The two men didn't think that this would happen. They swung using their full strength with the intent to destroy a flower pot, so the consequences would be different when that stick hit on a woman. His orders were to simply take away this woman, but they didn't think that this woman would block a stick from him for a flower pot. The men saw that things went out of control, so they immediately looked at each other and left in a rush. Even when the police, Li Mumei, and Su Jingwen all came, Ning Qingxue still didn't wake up. Fractured spinal bone, 60% of the ribs broken, heavy damage to the heart and lungs. Even if we do everything we can, she would only have 3 years to live at best, and she would be sleeping on a bed most of the time. If we don't treat her, she barely has a month to live. This was the conclusion drawn by the specialists in Ninghai's best hospital. Even if I go bankrupt, I will make the perpetrator pay. Ning Zhongfei was furious. Ning Qingxue was his only daughter, and for her, he was even willing to break out with his father and his brothers. But now his daughter was beaten to the ground. A 30 or so year-old-looking woman just held Ning Qingxue's hand and cried. She was Ning Qingxue's mother, Lan Yu. Qingxue, I won't let you be in this state without doing nothing. After crying for a while, Lan Yu stood up and rubbed her red eyes. She looked at her husband and said, I will find Su Su and help Qingxue exact revenge. Even if the Song family was more powerful than the heavens, I wouldn't let this pass. Previously, every time his wife had talked about Su Su, Ning Zhongfei would try to persuade her, saying that Su Su was in the hidden power factions, and it wasn't suitable for her to come out. However, this time, Ning Zhongfei surprisingly didn't say anything. He just nodded with a stern face and said, No matter the cost, we can't let Qingxue be treated like this. Mom, Ning Qingxue opened her eyes for the first time, but as she saw that she was laying in a white room, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Qingxue, you're awake. Lan Yu hurried over and grabbed her daughter's hand. I'm hurting so much, Ning Qingxue spoke, and sweat immediately cascaded down her face. Lan Yen felt pain in her heart as she knew that her daughter was suffering, not just physically, but inside her heart too. At this moment, she was hoping to be the one laying on the bed instead of her daughter. However, she could only console her. Qingxue, don't be afraid. Mom will cure you. Ning Qingxue shook her head with a struggle. I want to go home. Mom, take me to that yard. I know myself. I don't want treatment. Ning Qingxue was clear in her heart. With her injuries, even if she was cured, she would be laying on a bed for the rest of her life. In the best-case scenario, she harbored the will to die and didn't want to stay in the hospital. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to see Yi Mo once before she died and apologize in front of his face. Qingxue, don't be impulsive. Listen to your mom. Stay in the hospital. The doctors will definitely treat you. Rest assured, Mom will stay here with you. How could Lan Yu not know what her daughter was thinking? Her heart felt like it was getting sliced. Ning Qingxue wanted to shake her head, but she felt a sudden immense pain. However, she bit her teeth and said, Mom, can't you let me die with no regrets? I just want to return to that house. Take me back. I'm begging you. She breathed and said, Mom, give me that little case. After she said that, Ning Qingxue closed her eyes. Her pain no longer allowed her to continue talking, and she fainted once again. Lan Yu stood up and wiped the tears from her eyes. Zhongfei, why does Qingxue want to live in that house ever since she came back? What exactly happened between her and Yi Mo? Ning Zhongfei shook his head and said after a while, This is our daughter's last wish, and since we can't save her completely in the hospital, we should send her back to that house. We'll do everything we can to find the best doctors in the meanwhile. As long as there's even a sliver of hope, I don't want to give up. Put that case beside her bed, so she won't miss it when she wakes up. Lan Yu nodded and agreed with her husband's opinion. Yi Mo didn't go straight to Luo Tsang like Qi Wanqing had recommended. He wanted to see if he could find a job himself. If he really couldn't, then he would go work at Qi Wanqing's cousin's company. However, before this, he had to go to Ninghai and take away some soil from the flower pot in that house and take away his medical case. The reason he wanted to take some soil was for analysis. He wanted to find a laboratory and ask them to analyze the compound of the earth to understand as to why it could let the silver heart grass grow, but not with the soil and flowing snake. Returning to Ninghai, Yi Mo estimated that at this time, Su Wei was probably still at work, so he sneaked into the house. But when Yi Mo walked beside the flower pots, there was a heart-wrenching blood stain. Although it was almost dry, it was obvious that it didn't happen long ago. Why was there so much blood on this flower pot? Chapter 68. Yi Mo's Return. Chapter 68. Yi Mo's Return. Yi Mo, you're back. A voice interrupted Yi Mo's concentration. He was stunned, looking at the blood stain, and didn't notice that Su Wei had come in. Su Wei, don't you have to work today? Yi Mo looked strangely at Su Wei. She was looking tired, as she simply shook her head. Yesterday afternoon, Qingxue was injured and was sent to the hospital. Right now, she is still in a critical condition. I just went there to see her. How come I didn't see you? Yi Mo was astonished. Ning Qingxue was attacked? How did Su Wei know that Ning Qingxue was attacked? Wondering about this, he asked, How do you know Ning Qingxue was attacked? You don't know? Su Wei looked at Yi Mo and asked intriguingly. She thought Yi Mo came back because Ning Qingxue was hurt, but didn't expect him not to know anything at all. Yi Mo asked with a strange voice, If she was hurt, how would I know? Are her injuries serious? Although he didn't really have a good impression of Ning Qingxue, she looked really similar to his master, Luo Yin, when she was melancholic. Thus, he still cared a bit about her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agreed to Ning Qingxue's request previously. Qingxue had always been living here. You tell me how I wouldn't know. Su Wei was certain that Yi Mo really didn't know that Ning Qingxue had been injured. Yi Mo frowned. Ning Qingxue had been living here? He had already left, so the act was over. Why would she still be living here? With her family situation, how could she not have another place to live? Seeing that Yi Mo was lost in his thoughts, Su Wei spoke once again. After Qing Shue had come, she had been living in your room and rarely went out. Every day, she would care for these flowers, and sometimes she would look at them from day to night. Ning Qingxue also liked flowers? Yi Mo looked at the flower pots in bewilderment. He liked flowers because he came here to grow the silverheart grass. Why would Ning Qingxue like to grow flowers? If she really liked it, why didn't he even see her come close to a flower pot for the 20 or so days he had been living with her? On the flower pot, one grass with some blood stain caught Yi Mo's attention. Although this grass just started to germinate, Yi Mo had already recognized that this was a silver heart grass, and the moment he saw the plant, Yi Mo was immediately excited. The earth here could not only grow the silver heart grass, but also make it germinate. Yi Mo immediately thought about why Ning Qingxue would grow this plant here. Was she a cultivator? But Yi Mo quickly realized that this newly germinated silver heart grass was actually from a seed that he had dropped before he collected the seeds. He didn't expect it to germinate. But how did Ning Qingxue know this was silver heart grass and took it so seriously? Yi Mo was still musing when Su Wei explained. Ning Qingxue seemed to really care about that small blade of grass in that flower pot, and even used things to cover it. She looked after it every day, and sometimes she would look at it the whole day and wouldn't get bored. Yesterday, she was still looking at the small grass in the flower pot when two men suddenly charged in from outside. They looked very ferocious. Looking at Yi Mo, who was still quietly listening to her, Su Wei continued. One man said that Qingxue stole his money and was hiding here growing flowers. That man took a wooden stick and was about to smash the flower from the pot. However, I really don't know what Ning Qingxue was thinking at the time, but she used her body to block that wooden stick, and that stick directly hit her on the back. At that moment, she immediately spewed out a mouthful of blood on the flower pot and fainted. Yi Mo's face turned purple. He didn't know why Ning Qingxue would care so much for that silver heart grass, but he was already furious. Did you find out who those men were? Yi Mo calmed down and asked. Su Wei shook her head and said, No, but Yi Mo, you need to be careful. After you had left, a lot of people came and asked about you. They even took the surveillance computer away. I don't think those are good people. You need to be careful when you come and go. When Su Wei spoke till now, Yi Mo was very clear. Those people that tried to take Qingxue away were definitely sent by the Song family to monitor him. Since they hadn't expected Ning Qingxue to move over, they wanted to see if he would come and meet up with her. However, after waiting for some time for him, to no avail, they decided to take Ning Qingxue away. Then the incident of Ning Qingxue being hurt while trying to protect the grass occurred. Yi Mo was sure that the truth shouldn't be far off, but he was already sure that those who had hurt Ning Qingxue were people of the Song family. The only thing he didn't understand was why she would risk her life to save this silver heart grass. The only explanation he could think of was that Ning Qingxue knew that he needed this grass, so she cared for it and would even protect it at all costs. Although this was the easiest explanation he could think of, Yi Mo still believed this didn't make any sense at all because Ning Qingxue had never been so nice to him, so she should be even less for some grass he might need. Yi Mo thought to himself, Song family, since you want to fight, then we'll fight. If I, Yi Mo, fear a mere Song family, then I wouldn't even need to cultivate. I might as well suicide and enter samsara. One, regardless of whether Ning Qingxue did it for him or not. Since she saved the silver heart grass, this incident was related to Yi Mo, so he should exact her revenge. Su Wei, I will visit Qingxue in the hospital, but don't tell her that I came here. Yi Mo bid Su Wei farewell and headed straight for the hospital. Although Su Wei didn't know why Yi Mo wouldn't let her say anything to Ning Qingxue, She still agreed to his request because she knew that Ning Qingxue didn't have much time left. Just when Yi Mo walked in front of the hospital, he saw a few doctors carrying Ning Qingxue from a portable bed to a car. Yi Mo was stunned and wondered if was she changing hospital. However, his spirit sense scanned Qingshue's situation and immediately found out that her injuries were far more serious than he had imagined. Instantly, a killing intent rose up in Yi Mo's heart. Ning Qingxue was beaten like this in his place, trying to protect the silver heart grass. He was not going to let the perpetrator go. Ning Qingxue was carrying a case in her hands, which was the medical case he had wanted to take away. However, Yi Mo was astonished. Using his spirit sense to scan the case, he found 3 of the beads from the bracelet he had made for Su Jingwen. Why was this in Ning Qingshue's hands? And why were there only 3? He sighed to himself. If Ning Qingxue had these 3 beads on her wrist, and not in the case, perhaps she would have been able to avoid the disaster. Yi Mo was just planning to secretly follow behind this ambulance, and just when the car left, he heard 2 nurses talking. This girl should be someone from a big family. Look, even the hospital director is running around. Yeah, I heard that she only has a month to live. This girl doesn't want to accept treatment and wants to go home. Although I can't understand, there didn't seem to be much difference living on the bed, unable to move for a month or for a few years. Notes. 1. Samsara is a Sanskrit word that means wandering or world with the connotation of cyclic circuitous change. It also refers to the theory of rebirth and cyclicality of all life, matter, existence, a fundamental assumption of all Indian religions. Samsara is sometimes referred to with terms or phrases such as transmigration, karmic cycle, reincarnation, and cycle of aimless drifting, wandering, or mundane existence. Source: Wikipedia. Chapter 69. Chi Masterp 1. Chapter 69. Chi Masterp 1. Yi Mo now understood that Ning Qingxue was the one that wanted to go back, which made him wonder why she would choose something like that. However, since Ning Qingxue was going back home, he was no longer in a hurry. When there were no one left during the night, he would sneak inside and help her once again by curing her injuries. As for whether he would take away that piece of silver heart grass, he still needed to think about it, since he already knew that the ambulance was going to send Ning Qingxue back. Yi Mo didn't follow it. Instead, he was wondering where he could find the people who made her on the verge of death. Although he knew it was definitely the Song family, Yi Mo didn't know where the Song family's current base was in Ninghai. Yi Mo found a clean restaurant and ate there. After the meal, just when Yi Mo walked out of the restaurant, he saw 3 people leave a star-rated restaurant, 2 men and 1 lady, and Yi Mo quickly recognized one of the men, Wang Peng. However, Yi Mo didn't care about Wang Peng at all. What interested him was the man beside him. He was around 40 years old, he had a medium build and a long face with a grass patch haircut and slightly bulging temples. Yi Mo could tell with one glance that this was a master. That man seemed to have sensed Yi Mo observing him. He actually raised his head and looked toward Yi Mo, who glanced away with the thought that this man was really powerful. He was sure that this man was even stronger than Wendom, and even if he might not be as strong as Yi Mo himself, he wasn't far off. This was Yi Mo's first time encountering such master, and immediately understood that it had been that man who cured Wang Peng's hand. Now, his spirit sense could scan up to an 8-meter radius around him, which was perfect for him as he wanted to know what these people were saying. Finally, Yi Mo stopped at a news agency not far away from where he could perfectly monitor those people without being caught out. I was really lucky to have brother who last time. Otherwise, my hand still wouldn't be able to move now. I really feel ashamed to be unable to properly thank you this time for coming to help me. A voice that seemed to be Wang Peng's could be heard. Yi Mo had now the confirmation that this man really did cure Wang Peng's hand, which meant that this man was a Qi master, and it was his first encounter with a Qi master on Earth. Even when Dong, that he had met the last time, was only strong in brawling and assassination techniques, but she was far from being able to cultivate Qi. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, "You are too polite, young Master Peng. Your father is also on young Master Tan's side, so this little gesture of help is nothing. However, just try not to go mess with those people selling fake medicine on the streets. There are some quite able men amongst them." "Yes, I will remember Brother Hu's teachings. I have to trouble Brother Hu to say hello to young Master Tan for my father, as it's a bit inconvenient for me to go over right now. Anyway, thank you, Brother Hu." Wang Peng's tone was very respectful. The middle-aged man waved his hand and entered the Audi. The car was started and left rapidly. Yi Mo didn't have the time to care about Wang Peng. He focused exclusively on this man that Wang Peng called Brother Hu. This was a master. Immediately, Yi Mo followed the car. After 20 minutes, the sky had already darkened, and the Audi finally reached a private mansion. Yi Mo scanned the mansion with his spirit sense and found cameras everywhere, but absolutely no way of getting in. After thinking for a while, Yi Mo still decided to come back during the night when he would be able to destroy all these cameras and find that Brother Hu more easily. The reason he wanted to find this man was that Yi Mo had no idea about the martial arts system here and wasn't sure to what state he had to cultivate to ensure his own safety. Even if he had to forcefully interrogate him, he would do so as to not be unprepared when he met a stronger master one day. Unfortunately, this time wasn't the most suitable as the sky was just beginning to turn dark. It was still early now, and he definitely had to help cure Ning Qingshue's wounds. It was just that it wasn't convenient now since there would definitely be someone beside her. It wouldn't be appropriate for him to go. However, when it was later in the night, he would go treat her and then return here. He wanted to go visit Shirxiu at the Ninghai University, but after some thoughts, he gave up the idea. He was still weak now, and if the Song family somehow find out that he was related to Shirxiu, they might try to harm him too. Yi Mo left Brother Hu's mansion and was preparing to go buy some things as he still had some money on him now. After he had finished treating Ning Qingxue, he decided that he would go to Luo Tsang and have a look. If possible, he would find a job there, but if things still wouldn't work out, he would go to Qi Wangqing's cousin's company. His idea was to find a place to rent, and once things were more stable, he would get the content of the soil to be analyzed and then plant a few seeds of the silver heartgrass. After all, its growth period was very long. During this time, he also intended to go to the Taklamakan Desert. He didn't want to wait until the silver heartgrass was mature before leaving. That was wasting too much time. On this earth scarce of spirit chi, he really wouldn't know when he would be able to cultivate to a degree he wanted if he wasted time like that. Although it wasn't foreseeable how strong he would get if he continued like this, there was still hope if he tried, and if he didn't, there would be nothing but regret. Although Ning Qingxue also managed to grow a silver heartgrass, she was able to give up her life for that barely germinated blade of grass. And even though Yi Mo didn't know why she would do something like that, he couldn't bear to think about it any further. It's really you. I finally found you. A voice broke Yi Mo's contemplation. Yi Mo turned around and found someone that he knew. That person seemed to be called Fong Weicheng, and he met him last time when he was practicing his martial arts in the Qingdu Lake Park. At that time, he had wanted to spar with Yi Mo, but was defeated in only one move. "Oh, it's you, Fong Weicheng." Yi Mo nodded. Fong Weicheng was quite straightforward. Fong Weicheng saw that Yi Mo still remembered his name, and immediately said in happy surprise, "I didn't think you would still remember me." After that day, I had been waiting for you at the Qingdu Lake Park, but I never had been able to see you again. It's really lucky for me to see you here. Yi Mo smiled and said, "You need something from me?" Fong Weicheng rubbed his hands nervously. He knew that Yi Mo was quite strong. Even a few of him combined would be no match for Yi Mo. I was wondering if you had time for a chat. Fong Weiqing seemed very hopeful. Yi Mo thought that he still had some time now, and didn't have a place to waste it on. Since Fong Weiqing had something, he might as well go see it. Therefore, Yi Mo nodded and said, "Fine." Seeing that Yi Mo agreed, Fong Wei was elated. He hurriedly brought Yi Mo to a quiet Western restaurant. He didn't even ask if Yi Mo had been here, and just ordered a few dishes. Although he hadn't eaten Western cuisine before, Yi Mo felt it was quite good. After eating a few mouthfuls, Yi Mo asked casually, "What's up?" If Fong Weiqing was going to ask him to become his master, then Yi Mo would refuse it without a second thought. He didn't have the time to be teaching disciples. Fong Weiqing saluted with his fists and said, "I haven't asked for your honorable name yet. I'm called Shering." Yi Mo didn't want to reveal his real name in Ninghai. Besides, calling himself Shering had a few meanings. Firstly, it was that his master, or Shifu, was Luoing. Secondly, it was a homonym for seeing, which meant thinking of his master. Hearing Yi Mo's name, Fong Weiqing was amazed for a moment, but soon recovered. In his opinion, this name was very feminine. However, of course, he wouldn't reveal his thoughts. He had come here today to ask Yi Mo for help. Notes. 1. Reminder. The qi cultivated in Yi Mo's previous world is the spirit qi, which is an energy from the surrounding environment and universe. It is a level higher than the qi which martial arts masters on Earth cultivated. To avoid any confusion, the qi which mortal martial arts masters cultivate is called qi instead of qi. Chapter 70. Arrogance. Chapter 70. Arrogance. Sure. Senpai. Fong Weiqing couldn't find a proper greeting, so he could only refer to him that way. However, when he just spoke those words, he was interrupted by Yi Mo. "Brother Fong, just say my name. I'm not some senpai." Fong Weiqing saw that Yi Mo didn't mind, so he said, "In that case, I won't be too polite. Shering, I came to you asking for help this time. Because I haven't been able to find you before, I know that it is very impolite of me to say this the second time we meet." Yi Mo frowned and thought, "You still know this is impolite? Wasn't this obvious?" He and Fong Weiqing were strangers who met for the second time. If a stranger asks for help as soon as he opened his mouth, it would be strange if Yi Mo didn't frown. Seeing Yi Mo's reaction, Fong Weiqing didn't dare to drag it on, and just said, "You know that I am a driver. Although my boss' son is only going to the university, he is generous, and his relationship with me is excellent. He is doing his 4th year at the Ninghai Technology University, and is also the president of the Martial Arts Association. However, a month ago, he was heavily injured in a martial arts spar, and is still in the hospital now." Yi Mo stopped Fong Weiqing's words and said, "Do you want me to avenge him?" Fong Weiqing nodded and just wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Yi Mo again. "I won't do such a pointless thing. This thing ends now. Don't bring it up again." Fong Weiqing opened his bitter mouth and hesitated before saying, "Brothering, let me explain to you first, and if you still aren't interested, I won't dare to ask again." Fong Weiqing changed his reference of Yi Mo from Shering to brothering in a hurry. Yi Mo nodded helplessly. "Fine, but be quick, I'm busy tonight. It's because my boss is also from the military that his son loves martial arts. However, a month ago, a few Han men started a Taekwondo gym next to the university. In fact, there are a lot of Taekwondo clubs in Ninghai, which is normal. However, as soon as these Hans started the Han-style Taekwondo club, they wrote 2 sentences on their door: "Every martial arts originated in Han," and among all of them, Taekwondo is number 1. Those who enter this club must accept that the Chinese martial arts originated from Han, and only those who admit that could come into the club to study. Originally, everyone thought that no one would join this club simply because of that rule. However, we didn't expect so many people to sign up. I really couldn't get it through my head, and neither could Chi Weidong. So he went to spar with the people from this Han-style Taekwondo club after saying that Fong Weiqing sighed. Although he didn't continue speaking, Yi Mo could guess what happened next. This Chi Weidong was probably the son of Fong Weiqing's boss. In fact, Yi Mo also didn't really like some of the Hans he had met because they were too shameless. Not only did they call Chinese medicine Han medicine, but they had even said that Zhuge came from Han. This wasn't all. As long as it was a traditional Chinese festival, they would all claim it to be Han. After Fong Weiqing had made another sigh, he said, seeing Chi Weidong willing to challenge the club master, he was actually very welcoming and also made him sign some kind of agreement that they wouldn't be held responsible for any injuries. I know Chi Weidong's skills. He started practicing martial arts since he was 8, and it has been more than 10 years since. But he still was no match for the vice club master of the club and was heavily beaten. However, due to the prior agreement and the fair nature of the match, there was no way to reproach anything to them. Due to Chi Weidong's injuries, many masters in Ninghai went to challenge them, but all of them came back heavily injured. That Han was indeed strong. And it's been a month, yet no one in Ninghai was a match for that man. Later on, they even set the challenge at each university to increase their influence. In this way, their Han-style Taekwondo club not only didn't close, but was instead getting more and more popular, and those signing up increased significantly. I really don't know what these fellow Chinese are thinking. Fong Weiqing seemed furious after he had spoken. Yi Mo smiled faintly in the meanwhile. He had heard once that the Chinese had tried to reject the Japanese imports for a certain number of years already, but there were still so many people buying Japanese products, still giving them money so they could turn it into bombs and throw it back. Although the current world still waged war, it was only partial war, and those young men and women living in the peaceful era wouldn't be able to think of more deeply about those kinds of things. Their emotions for their country were mostly in their mouths and not in their hearts. They would forget it after speaking. Compared to the older generation that had experienced war, they were missing a lot of things. Usually when they bought things, they only cared if the brand was famous or if the appearance was good, and as for where it came from, rarely anyone bothered to check. This wasn't to say that they didn't love their country, but more like they didn't have that subtle notion in mind. Of course, Yi Mo was able to empathize with Fong Weiqing's emotions. He wasn't an angry youth, but someone saying that everything belonged to them made him feel uncomfortable. Yi Mo was also a Chinese now and knew that they had a long history. He believed that the Han's Taekwondo originated from Chinese martial arts, yet now they were saying the opposite. Since he was able to help out, Yi Mo asked, "Brother Fong, what time is it now?" Fong Weiqing looked at his watch and answered, 7:30. Yi Mo nodded. "I still have 3.5 hours. If you can arrange a match within this time, I should be able to help you with this." Fong Weiqing stood up excitedly. "Brothering, I can definitely do that. Right now, they are hoping that someone would fight with them. And now, they would hold the competition with lots of promotions at every university to raise their fame." Afterward, Fong Weiqing immediately picked up the phone and started to make a call. Ninghai Technology University, a gym that could only contain 3,000 people was filled with more than 4,000 people now. And the lights were on inside because right now there was a match in progress. One was the president of the Ninghai University Martial Arts Association, Li Bangqi, and the other one was the Han-style Taekwondo Club's vice club master, Pu Dongheng. The reason the vice club master was the challenger was because one had to beat him first before the club master came himself. However, since the establishment of the Han-style Taekwondo Club a month before, no one had been able to beat Pu Dongheng in a match. Many challengers either broke their arms or legs. Even though Li Bangqi was only the president of one martial arts association in Ning Hai University. He had represented Ning Hai in participating in the National Youth Martial Arts Competition and won the third prize. So this time, the match between the two of them almost attracted the attention of all the university students of Ning Hai. However, this gymnasium was too small and couldn't hold more people. Most people stood outside watching on a big screen that was prepared for the event. The match between Li Bangqi and Pu Dongheng didn't involve rounds, but just free fighting. Except for the prohibition of weapons, they could use any means they wanted. Almost everyone was cheering for Li Bangqi. Although the two were in a heated battle, no one had the advantage yet, but everyone knew that the deciding moment was about to come. Because every time Pu Dongheng fought with someone, he would suddenly defeat his opponent around 20 minutes, and now it was almost 20 minutes. Li Bangqi originally thought that even though Amir Han had beaten many masters in Ning Hai, he was still a Han, so Li Bangqi didn't take him seriously. However, after they had started fighting, he realized that Pu Dongheng was not only agile but also experienced in Chinese martial arts. The most despicable part was that these Hans claimed it as theirs. The more Li Bangqi fought, the more he became alerted. He had already taken a few punches from Pu Dongheng, and even though he had a strong body and it didn't really matter much for the moment, he was the only one to know that he only landed one kick on Pu Dongheng, causing barely any damage to him. Chapter 71. What is truly crazy? Chapter 71. What is truly crazy? The reason Li Bangqi was so shocked was because his master had once told him that the highest power level in martial arts was the heaven state. Although he had practiced martial arts for more than 10 years, he didn't even reach the lowest level, the yellow state. At most, he was on the borderline of high-level martial arts. However, those who reached the legendary heaven state were very rare. Perhaps no one had even seen one. Even his master was barely in the doorsteps of the yellow state, but unable to progress any further. Real martial arts masters came from ancient martial arts families and some hidden power factions. However, these ancient martial arts families usually never showed themselves to the world and only pursued martial arts to its extremity, so normal people could rarely see them. If one day someone could block his Hurricane Storm Fist, then it meant that this person was on the borderline of the yellow state, and he definitely wouldn't be a match for him. However, right now, Li Bangqi's Hurricane Storm Fist had been completed, yet his opponent was still standing firmly. Li Bangqi immediately remembered his master's words. He knew things weren't good and was about to go into a defensive stance. But at this moment, Pu Dongheng seemed to have suddenly turned into two people, and taking advantage of that one moment when Li Bangqi was hesitating, Pu Dongheng had landed a kick on Li Bangqi's chest. The pain of breaking ribs made Li Bangqi forget for a second the fact that he had been kicked out of the ring. However, he immediately recovered his mind as he had realized that he had lost and was beaten by the vice club master. The club master didn't even need to show his face. At this moment, he no longer cared about the pain of his broken ribs, and the only thing in his mind was the humiliation he received. The Han stole the arts of his ancestors and used it to beat him. The boisterous gymnasium suddenly went into a deadly silence. Li Bangqi represented the highest level of martial arts in Ning Hai, but he couldn't even beat a vice club master. How embarrassed were the few thousand people at the scene. The reason Li Bangqi made his move today was because he had just come back from Beijing the day before, and yet he hadn't expected to suffer a loss as soon as he arrived. The vice president of the Ning Hai Martial Arts Association, who was also the chairman of the Ning High Technology University Student Association, Chen Weilin, said with a face full of disappointment, "Quickly take Bangqi to the hospital. We surrender this match." There was sighing everywhere in the gymnasium, and many people started to leave in disappointment. Suddenly, Chen Weilin's phone rung, and as he picked up the call, he had only heard one sentence before exclaiming, "What, you found him?" "Okay, leave this to me, Club Master Pu. We still have one more member of our martial arts association who wants to challenge you today. This is the last challenge, and if we still can't beat you this time, I will represent the Ning High Martial Arts Association not to challenge you ever again. Chen Weilin's words immediately caught everyone's attention. Not challenging them again meant accepting their status, and everyone thought that Chen Weilin was mad. Ha 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 ha. You're welcome to send more contestants. Our Han martial arts masters aren't afraid of challenges. On the contrary, we worry that there are no more challenges, and I was starting to wonder why. There was only one every few days. Pu Dongheng laughed cockily. He wanted more challenges, since the more there were, the more famous his Han-style Taekwondo club would become. What? There's still someone challenging him? Stay to support him. We must beat these Hans until they know what true Chinese martial arts is. Yes, yes, we must stay to support our people. If you want to stay, you can stay. I'm sick of the disappointment. I'm leaving. Yeah, leave. Why stay and cheer for the Hans? With the heated discussions, half of the people left, and the tightly squeezed place was quickly becoming more spacious. However, some of those who were watching the match outside heard that there was another challenger incoming and decided to stay. Soon, new people squeezed into the gymnasium, and the place that was just becoming empty became full again. What sort of person is it? Does he want to challenge the Han? But even if he loses, I will still support him. At least he isn't a coward. Yes, of course, we support him. Unlike some people, they lose their vigor after seeing a loss. So no one of the Hans are so cocky. I heard it was because Chen Weilin received a last-minute call and arranged the match. However, the Hans definitely want more people to challenge them. This way, they would become more famous. Famous? I don't think so. The challenge hasn't started yet. How would the Hans know they would win? When Yi Mo came to the Ning High Technology University, he didn't think that there would be so many people at the scene. It could even be described as a sea of people. Despite that Yi Mo was a cultivator who was originally from another world and preferred peace, he still resonated under the fervor of these hot-blooded students and Ning High citizens. What he didn't know was that this was only the scene after half of the people had already left. Yi Mo followed Fong Weichen into the passage and entered from the back. No one came up and said anything because he looked too ordinary. So ordinary that he didn't look any different from an ordinary quiet student. Brother Fong, did you find that master? Did he come? Where is he? Chen Weilin saw Fong Weichen and immediately asked a few questions. That's him, Shering. A master of the martial arts realm, Fong Weichen pointed at Yi Mo and said, Huh? Chen Weilin was so surprised that he was startled. How could it be such a quiet-looking youth? However, he immediately reacted and saw that his actions were very impolite. He hurriedly extended his hand and said, Master Shi, hello, I'm Chen Weilin, the Vice President of the Ning High Martial Arts Association. It's a pleasure to meet you, but that Pu Dongheng is rather strong. How about I show you some of his recorded matches first? Yi Mo waved his hand and said, I'm tight on time. There's no need for recordings. The faster, the better. Chen Weilin opened his mouth and thought, wow, he is really arrogant, too arrogant. Everyone who fought Pu Dongheng all analyzed his fights repeatedly. Even so, no one had been able to hold out for more than 20 minutes against him. Who is this Shering? Did Weichen get things wrong? What if he just went up and got thrown down in one round? It was a small thing if he got hurt, but then the face of the Ning High Martial Arts Association would be completely lost. Thinking about this, Chen Weilin looked at Fong Weichen and wanted to know what Fong Weichen would say. Seeing Chen Weilin look at him, Fong Weichen waved his hand and said, President Chen, just do as what Shering requires. His time is really tight. It would be best if we could call the club master and the vice one here to fight him as well. I believe after this match, the Han-style Taekwondo club would go back to where it came from. Fong Weicheng was quite admiring of Yi Mo's strength, as he didn't believe the club master could kick him out in less than one round like this Shering had done so easily in the past. Seeing that Fong Weicheng said this, Chen Weilin couldn't say anything anymore, and just looked at Yi Mo before turning around to make the arrangements. Wait! Yi Mo stopped Chen Weilin. Is there anything else? I will do as you wish. Chen Weilin had not much faith in Yi Mo, but after all, he was brought by Fong Weicheng, so he would comply. Go tell them that if they want to fight me, they'd better get everyone from their club and fight me together. I don't want to waste time. And tell me where that Pu Dongheng likes to break people's bones, Yi Mo said to Chen Weilin. What? Chen Weilin was truly dumbfounded now. Before he had thought that Shi Ying was very arrogant for not watching the recordings, but now he knew that he was truly crazy. Chapter 72. Descent of the Crows, but... Chapter 72. Descent of the Crows, but what? Although Pu Dongheng could speak fluent Chinese, he was so angry that his accent changed after hearing Chen Weilin's request. He had been challenged for a month, and no one in Ninghai was a match for him, but now someone wanted to challenge everyone in their club at the same time. Pu Dongheng's face turned purple as he said, Okay, but he must beat me first. Perhaps after he had fought me, he wouldn't say such things. I'm sorry, President Chen. I want to ask you to tell him that there will be injuries in the fight. Don't regret after he goes in the hospital. Although our club welcomes challengers, not every little prawn can come and challenge us. Now, if he still wants to fight, then hurry up. After speaking, he sat down and meditated, ignoring Chen Weilin. What? The challenger tonight wants to challenge the entire club. Is this real? What a boss! Who is this? Even if he loses, I will still support him. The people at the scene erupted upon hearing this news that had spread like wildfire across the scene, as it had immediately excited those supporters with only one thin line of hope. Although they knew this was impossible, it still ignited their fervor. There was no stopping it. Yi Mo didn't have to wait long until Chen Weilin came back, with someone following behind him. That person had an agreement in his hand, and made Yi Mo sign and press his fingerprint on it. After that person had left, Chen Weilin said, That Han said that you would earn the right to talk about fighting his entire club only after beating him. Right now, he is waiting for you on the stage. The boisterous scene immediately quietened down after Yi Mo came in. Originally, they thought that a challenger who could be so cocky was at least very tall and big, if not bulky. However, the quiet-looking Yi Mo was obviously a student. Many people could no longer allow their eyes to be tortured and left quietly, thinking that even if they were no match for them, they couldn't use such low ways of pestering them. At least Li Bangqi was nearly 9 tall, but this Shi Ying was not only not bulky, but also didn't look like a martial arts master no matter what. Pu Dongheng was also stunned. He really had some expectations for this arrogant Shi Ying, but he had never thought that he would be so young. It could be said that out of all the people that had challenged him this month, this Shi Ying was the most ordinary. You are the one who arrogantly challenged our entire club. Pu Dongheng pointed at Yi Mo, and really couldn't get his head across. However, Yi Mo didn't answer, and just said coldly, If you want to fight, hurry up. I still have other business. I don't have time to play with you Martians. He could easily tell how strong Pu Dongheng was. Slightly stronger than Wendong, but if she was fighting with her life on the line, he might not even be a match for her. Compared to that brother, who he was going to see that night, Pu Dongheng was a far cry. How could someone like this be called a master? Martian? Pu Dongheng repeated, and soon realized that Yi Mo was ridiculing him for being ignorant. So he replied, Soon I will let you know what regret is. Then Pu Dongheng immediately went for a combo kick. Pu Dongheng believed that if he used this combo kick, Yi Mo definitely wouldn't be able to dodge it. He was going to kick Yi Mo up as soon as possible, and when he fell down, he would launch a round of attack. The cheering at the gymnasium immediately stopped. Most of the people at the scene had seen Pu Dongheng's matches. This was the first time he had used his combo kick as soon as the match started. The less brave girls didn't even dare to look at Yi Mo anymore, and just closed their eyes instead. Yi Mo sneered. From the way Pu Dongheng moved, he could tell that he wouldn't be able to improve in his life at all. His movements were too reserved, and although Yi Mo didn't cultivate Chinese martial arts, he knew that someone who tried to kill his opponent on the first attack wouldn't be someone strong, unless he was actually countless times stronger than his opponent. And this Pu Dongheng wanted to beat him senseless with one move. He thought too high of himself. Yi Mo didn't even move, and just stared coldly at Pu Dongheng's combo kick. Oh no! Everyone who looked at Yi Mo sighed. He didn't even know how to dodge. This was too stupid. Chen Weilin must have gone mad from the losses, and found someone like this to get beat up. Pu Dongheng's idea was good, and it seemed insurmountable to him. Perhaps this idea wasn't bad for those opponents he had faced before. Even if he couldn't succeed with this one, he still had other moves, and this wouldn't affect him at all. Unfortunately, he met Yi Mo. Yi Mo's first move was to reach out his hand and grab his ankle. The second move was to swing him up, and then followed with 2 kicks on each of the kneecaps on Pu Dongheng's legs. Pu Dongheng didn't even get to scream when Yi Mo's third move, a few quick kicks, landed on his chest. The fourth move was the final kick that landed right on his nose. The last sentence that Pu Dongheng, who was shouting in excruciating pain, heard was, "I'll give you the descent of the crows, but move." After hearing this sentence, he felt that he was sitting inside a round barrel with countless garbage covering his face. After Yi Mo had walked off for a few seconds, the scene suddenly erupted into thunderous roars. He actually kicked a Han, who was so arrogant for a month, flying so easily. How dare you act cocky in China? Taekwondo? It was only something that our ancestors in the Tang dynasty passed into the Han lands. Now, how dare you proclaim that to be your own? Now you encounter the attacks of our ancestors, and your butt has to turn around. The gymnasium was rumbling. There were countless calls going out or coming in. Quickly come. It's true, he really was beaten, and in one move it was so fascinating. There should be more. Later on, come quickly. But there are no longer seats here anymore. Ahahaha, your fault for leaving. God, luckily I didn't listen to you. That was really a show. One move. What? How to describe that move? Just pretend it was Bruce Lee. Yeah, go regret, no time to talk to you. I need to go see my idol. No, I can't deal with it. I love Shering. I want to marry him. Stop drooling. Just look at you. Sigh. It's a bit hard. Miao Yuan. Do you want to die? What? He actually won. And in one move. What the hell? Why is my luck so bad? I've been watching it for a month, but I didn't get to see this. No, I must get there. It's too exhilarating. A young man who was eating fast food immediately hung up and quickly went out. Hey, you still haven't paid for your food yet. When the boss rushed out, there was no one left. Chapter 73. Famous. Chapter 73. Famous. That Shering kind of looks like someone from my school. How is this possible? Immediately, a Ninghai University student realized that Shering had similarities with Yi Mo, but obviously didn't dare to believe that thought. Who didn't know who Yi Mo was in Ninghai University? How could he become Shering? Puff, keep dreaming. Your school? The strongest in your school, Li Bangqi, has already lost. The student who spoke before felt so as well. After all, there were too many similar-looking people, so he didn't say anything anymore. Master Shi, I didn't think you would be so strong. It was really right to invite you this time. It's almost like a dream. Chen Weilin was so excited that he didn't know what to say anymore. He didn't think that this Shering would be much, much stronger than what Fong Weiqing had proclaimed. That cocky Pu Dongheng was absolutely out of his league, although Fong Weiqing was sure that Yi Mo would be eventually the victor. He didn't think he would win so cleanly. A tall girl ran in, and looking at Yi Mo, hopefulness glimmered across her eyes, but she still remained calm and said to Chen Weilin, "President, some journalists want to interview Brother Shering." Of course, Chen Weilin also wanted journalists to interview him. For him, the more known this event was, the better, but he still needed to ask for Yi Mo's permission. Yi Mo heard the girl's words but waved his hand and said, "There's no need for an interview. Hurry up and arrange for that club master to fight me. I don't have much time." Okay, of course your things are the top priority. I will arrange for it immediately." Yu Yaxin pushed the journalists away. "Just say that Master Shering needs to rest." After finishing, Chen Weilin rushed out, but his footsteps were much lighter than before. Seeing that Chen Weilin went out, Yu Yaxin suddenly took out a small notebook and pen, walking fearfully toward Yi Mo. She asking in a small voice, "Brother Shi, could you give me an autograph?" Yi Mo smiled and said, "Of course." Then he took over the notebook, but as soon as he had written one character, he felt that something was wrong. He was used to writing Yi Mo and actually wrote the first character to be Yi. However, he just hesitated for a moment before finally writing down Shering. Yu Yaxin took the book with a blush face, saying thank you before rushing out. She still needed to tell the journalists that they couldn't do interviews, but her heart was still beating rapidly. Thinking about the admiration she would receive from her schoolmates in her dorm, she couldn't resist revealing a smile at the edge of her mouth. Why won't Mr. Shi be interviewed? The female journalist was very shocked upon hearing that Yi Mo rejected interviews. Although she was only one media body of Ninghai who didn't want to be famous now. There was a chance to be famous, but he didn't take it. Yu Yaxin saw the journalist was a bit unhappy and hurriedly said, "Master Shi might have another match. How about you ask President Chen later? I can't make this decision." "Fine, I will go talk to your vice president. And if that still doesn't work, I will go straight to the president of the Ning High Martial Arts Association." This female journalist spoke angrily. She was very unhappy with the condescending attitude that the Ninghai Technology University was adopting. Just when Yi Mo was getting impatient while waiting for his next opponent, Chen Weilin hurried in with a face full of excitement. How did it go? Fong Weiqing had been staying with Yi Mo. He knew that Yi Mo's time was short, so he asked Chen Weilin as soon as he came in. "The Han surrendered. The Han-style Taekwondo club will leave tomorrow and won't use that title ever again." Chen Weilin said excitedly with a face full of pride and satisfaction. It was as though he had defeated Pu Dongheng himself. Fong Weiqing frowned and said, "How could the Han surrender? Their club master is really strong. I've seen him before. He is definitely much stronger than that Pu Dongheng. This shouldn't be." However, Chen Weilin replied, "Yes, they said it very clearly and even signed. That club master checked Pu Dongheng's wound and looked at the recording. Then he immediately surrendered. However, he said that it was only temporary. He would fight Master Shi at the same place a year later." Yi Mo frowned. He didn't have time to fight them again a year later, but since they surrendered now, he couldn't fight them again today anyway. Seeing Yi Mo frown, Chen Weilin immediately said, "I didn't agree with him, but he said that I didn't need to. He would come here a year later, and if Master Shering didn't come to fight him, he wouldn't blame you. He just said that if you didn't come, then it would be obvious who would win. They lost, and yet they are still so cocky. These Hans are really shameless." Fong Weiqing was angry. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, "We can talk about these things a year later. I'm leaving now." He stood up and headed for the door. Seeing that Yi Mo was about to leave, Chen Weilin hurriedly said, "Master Shering, today is a joyful day. How about I invite you to a dinner with us at the Ruwei Tower? Also, a few journalists are waiting outside for you." Yi Mo smiled and said, "There's no need for that. I still have things to do anyway. I'll just leave using the window so there won't be any trouble with the journalists outside." He didn't even wait for their response. He opened the window and jumped out. Huh, wait. This is the third floor. However, Chun Wei-lin had barely enough time to finish his sentence before Yi Mo had already disappeared from the window. Chun Wei-lin and Fong Wei-cheng rushed to the window, and yet Yi Mo was nowhere to be seen. Although Yi Mo had left, this scene was actually more chaotic. People were celebrating, drinking champagne and beer everywhere. And the room was filled with happy shouts simply because the Hans, who had been winning consecutively for a month, had admitted defeat. They could take what was yours in front of you, but making them admit defeat was extremely hard. At this time, Shi Ying's name had spread throughout the entire university and was spreading outside even quicker. Many people were starting to know that a great master called Shi Ying had appeared in Ninghai. The happiest people tonight were those who got to see with their own eyes the match between Yi Mo and Pu Dongheng, but the unhappiest were those journalists who waited for him for a long time and still didn't manage to see him. And then there was the last group of people, the morose one. They were the ones who left at the last minute. Now, no words could describe their feeling. Regret was too light of a word to describe their feeling. It was as though a hardcore Chinese soccer fan was watching the World Cup between China versus Spain in the finals, and after 90 minutes, the score was 0-4 with China losing. Although the referee had called for 3 more minutes of overtime because of the disappointment, a lot of soccer fans had left the stadium. Yet 3 minutes later, they learned outside of the stadium that China had scored 5 goals in 3 minutes and eventually pulled down Spain from the throne with a score of 5-4. But the last 3 minutes, they weren't there to see it. How depressing would that be? The time was already around 11 p.m., so Yi Mo quickly left the Ning High Technology University. What he wanted to do first was to treat Ning Qingxue, and at this time, the person staying with her should be already asleep. Chapter 74. Ning Qingxue's Last Words. Chapter 74. Ning Qingxue's last words when Yi Mo came to the house, he found a 30 or so year old woman still sitting in front of Ning Qingxue's bed and looking quite similar to her. It was probably Ning Qingxue's mother. However, she looked really young, and if Ning Qingxue's incident didn't occur, she would perhaps look even younger. With Ning Qingxue's mother here, Yi Mo didn't know whether or not he should go in now. Just when Yi Mo was hesitating, the woman beside the bed spoke. "Qingxue, you should let go of that case and sleep." "Mom, you can go to sleep. I want to have some quiet time to myself." Although her voice was really soft, Yi Mo could still hear it with his spirit sense. The woman near the bedside and spoke after a while. "The nurse and I will be outside. If there's anything that you need, just ring the bell. If you're in pain, tell Mom, and I'll get the nurse to come in and give you some anesthetics." Yi Mo looked at this woman as she walked out of the room and waited until she was outside to rub her eyes. This place had been transformed into a temporary medical place, and 2 young nurses were sleeping on the beds on the side. Yi Mo waited for a while, and when that woman sat on the bed, he went over quietly and pressed the chakra point of the 3 women inside the room to force them to sleep. He didn't want someone to suddenly charge in while he was treating Ning Qingxue. After doing all that, Yi Mo entered Ning Qingxue's room. He used to live in this room before, and gave it to Ning Qingxue after she had come. As he entered, Yi Mo felt things were familiar yet unknown at the same time. He looked at Ning Qingxue, who was hugging the case, and knew that her injuries were very serious, even more than he had expected. He just couldn't understand why she constantly hugged his case. Yi Mo was still thinking whether he should tell Ning Qingxue that he was treating her or make her sleep, and then treat her when he heard Ning Qingxue's quiet murmuring. Then he saw the red phone on her hands. and he immediately realized that she was recording a message on it. "Yemo, I'm sorry, I will leave soon. I know that I hurt you, and I regret it so much. I really wanted to see you once before I passed away to apologize. After experiencing all that, I finally know how naive I was. I am. However, I finally realized how magnanimous you are, but it is already too late. Besides, the only thing I do not regret is blocking that grass. I only regret the way I treated you. After reading your letter, I understood how lonely you were. You never had friends, and yet I was still a nasty woman, hurting you again and again. I even used the money you earned from selling your blood to buy a few $1,000 bottle of wine. But I never thought about how you would feel. I just did what I wanted without thinking of the consequences. And when I finally understood things, it was already too late. Ning Qingxue coughed a few times as her face was getting paler, but she still moved her phone closer and continued, "Yemo, I don't know if I love you, but if I still had the chance to be engaged with you, I definitely wouldn't do it because I needed you as a shield, but because I am willing to marry you, perhaps it has nothing to do with love. And you might even say I'm not good enough for you, but I still keep the marriage certificate by my side. I never divorced and won't divorce in the future. You are my only husband in this lifetime. Regardless if you know it or not, regardless if you agree or not, I, Ning Qingxue, am willing to be your wife, and am your wife. Yemo, I still have to apologize to you. I was your wife, but I never took on the responsibilities of a wife for a single day. Instead, I got you into so much more trouble. I was like an immature child, thinking that I knew everything." She paused for some time. "Yemo, I will protect you from heaven. You need to stay well. It's a pity that I wasn't even able to leave a child for you. You must find a girl who loves you, not someone like me." Speaking till now, Ning Qingxue gasped for some air and caressed the case with her hands before saying once again, "Yemo, I've never said the two words Lao Gong. One in my life. I really want to say it, but I'm too embarrassed. There's a blade of grass in the yard. I took care of it every day because I've seen you do the same with the previous one. I don't know if it could be useful to you. If it is, then take it away when it matures. Perhaps that is the only thing I can leave to you. Yemo, Lao Gong, are you still well?" Ning Qingxue's voice gradually got lower. Yemo suddenly felt sour and guilty in his heart. When he had helped Ning Qingxue before, he wasn't as magnanimous as Ning Qingxue thought him to be. He just thought that Ning Qingxue's gloomy face looked like his master Luoying, so he was willing to help her. He wanted his master to also have people helping her if she ever was in trouble. And the money from selling blood, he didn't go for her. Even if he had had more money than he could have spent, he would have still gone there. Wasting was bad, but Ning Qingxue thought that he was trying to make a living for her and still felt guilty about it. It could be seen that Ning Qingxue was a kind-hearted girl. It was just that the environment she lived in and her family background gave her a sense of aloofness that made her have a distaste toward strangers. However, if you peeled away the layer of her shield, she was a kind-hearted, yet pitiful person. However, she mixed up the feeling of love and guilt. Perhaps she would understand one day. Yemo sighed. This had further reinforced his decision of saving Ning Qingxue. However, he wouldn't tell her for now. After all, his abilities were too absurd. It would only scare her. Just when Yemo thought that Ning Qingxue was asleep and prepared to seal a few meridians on her to treat her, Ning Qingxue suddenly grabbed the phone and mumbled, "Dad, Mom, I'm leaving. I've been a bad daughter. I already married to Yemo. That case is his marriage gift to me. Don't separate that case from me. There's a grass in the yard that I left for him. If he ever came back, give this phone to him. But if he never does—" She paused for a long time. "Then never mind. Sorry, I caused so much trouble for the family and just left." Ning Qingxue's voice suddenly dropped low. Just when Yemo was wondering if he should tell her that he was already here, Ning Qingxue suddenly grabbed a knife from the case and pierced it toward her throat. Yemo was shocked and couldn't care anymore as he dashed in front of Ning Qingxue. There was too much distance, and he didn't have time to grab the knife. He could only block with his arm in front of her throat. The knife pierced Yimo's hand and was blocked by Yimo's qi, rendering it unable to go any farther. However, Ning Qingxue fainted because she had used too much strength. Yi Mo pulled out the knife. Although it didn't pierce very deeply, there was still some blood. Yi Mo stopped his wound from bleeding, and seeing that Ning Qingxue had fainted, he raised his hand and sealed a few meridians, rendering her unable to wake up for some time. Afterward, he tried to take the case from her arms. However, he discovered that Ning Qingxue clutched the case tightly. Even when she had fainted, her hand still held the case firmly. Unless Yi Mo forced it out of her, he wouldn't be able to take it from her at all. Yi Mo helplessly shook his head and could only open the case in her hands. There were quite a few things inside. Yi Mo took out a bottle of pills and took out that packet of silver needles. He stuffed 2 heart protection pills into Ning Qingxue's mouth, and, using his qi, he helped her body digest it. Afterward, he took up the 108 silver needles, sterilizing them with his qi, and flipped Ning Qingxue as he took off her top. Note: 1. Lao Gong is how the wives call their husbands. Chapter 75. Treatment. Chapter 75. Treatment with Ning Qingxue being such a beautiful girl. Although Yi Mo had never seen her back, he could still imagine how white it would be. However, when he finally saw her back, it was almost fully dark purple, showing how hard she had been hit that day. Seeing the wound on Ning Qingxue's back, Yi Mo's killing intent rose once again. Song family, I won't let this go. Yi Mo unbuckled Ning Qingxue's bras, and the 108 silver needles in his hands quickly fell onto Ning Qingxue's back. At the same time, his 2 hands kept massaging Ning Qingxue's body. As his cultivated qi gradually permeated into Ning Qingxue's body through his hand, her broken meridians, organs, and backbone began to slowly recover. Luckily, Yi Mo had left some medical pills here. Otherwise, it would be very hard to heal her in only one night with her wounds. As Ning Qingxue's tattered body was gradually recovering by Yi Mo's qi, Yi Mo's face was becoming paler. Initially, he had thought that he would have been able to treat Ning Qingxue's injuries in, at most, a little over an hour. But now it had already been 2 hours, and he only finished half. Pea-sized sweat dripped on Ning Qingxue's back, but Yi Mo didn't dare to stop because if he did, not only his previous work would have been for nothing, but it would be even harder for him to help her later on. If only he had a spirit stone or a spiritual recovery pill, even of the lowest grade. Yi Mo felt that his qi was gradually running out and was dreaming about having such a pill. After another hour, Yi Mo's hands that had been massaging Ning Qingxue's back were beginning to shake. Although he felt that the qi in his body was not enough to continue, he still had to hold on. Despite knowing that he may lose his powers like this, he had no choice. He overestimated his powers and underestimated Ning Qingxue's injuries. Although Yi Mo's face gradually turned bad, Ning Qingxue's skin was continuously returning to a healthy white. The dark purple on her back also seemed to have been removed layer by layer. Her face was gradually becoming ruddy, and the tense, wrinkled skin due to pain started to relax, although her meridians were sealed shut by Yi Mo, which still prevented her from waking up. He saw from her eyebrows that she had felt something. Yi Mo bit the tip of his tongue and forced the last sliver of his spiritual qi into her body. He continued to massage her, and after another half an hour, Yi Mo finally finished recovering the last bit of injury on Ning Qingxue. However, he could no longer resist and just collapsed on her back. As Yi Mo's face touched the soft skin on Ning Qingxue's back, a faint aroma reached his nostrils, shocking him as the scent immediately reminded him about Luoing. He got up quickly and helped Ning Qingxue to tie up her bras and put on clothes before flipping her back around. Poor Yimo. He had never touched something like a bra, and a small tie kept him troubled for a long time. He was almost sweating before he had managed to tie it back up. At this moment, Yimo just realized that Ning Qingshue's front chest stood firm and massive, and two round white rabbits seemed to squeeze out, which made Yimo feel astounded. With her perfect face, it made Yimo almost unable to resist. However, Yimo was drained and simply rested for a bit before unsealing Ning Qingshue's meridians and just left her to sleep. Before leaving, Yimo packed up the things in the little case and looked at Ning Qingshue's hands that tightly held the case. He sighed and eventually didn't take the case away. He didn't even take anything inside it, as well. When Yimo walked out of the house, it was almost 3 a.m. He found a quiet place and rested for an hour. At approximately 4, Yimo had basically recovered 70% of his strength. However, due to him treating Ning Qingxue before, his spirit qi was a bit unstable. However, Yimo felt this was enough, and thus headed toward that brother-whose mansion. When Yimo came, the guards outside the mansion were snoring on a table. Yimo casually knocked them out to prevent them from waking up too quickly and went into the room, shutting down every monitoring computer. He knew that these computers should be connected to the other computers in the compound, but since he had shut down the one with the recordings, they wouldn't be able to monitor anymore for the time being. He just didn't know if there were other monitoring computers. What made Yimo curious was that when he went inside the mansion, there was another room with its lights on. Yimo walked in a bit and scanned with his spirit sense. As expected, there were still a few people inside discussing something that still weren't sleeping. That brother, who was there, but other than him, there was also a 20 or so year old youth with a face that actually looked a bit similar to Song Shaowen. Two bulky men were standing at the door. Yimo went over quietly, and with just 2 palms, these 2 bulky men silently collapsed. Brother, who, that Wang Peng did things well today, with these 2 little girls staying over tonight with him. Qian Shiping shouldn't keep finding excuses anymore. I don't believe that Yimo could still run with Qian Shiping helping us, although this youth's voice wasn't loud. It was full of confidence. That brother who nodded and said, "You're right, young Master Tan, although Qian Shiping is only SOSO. The power behind him is sometimes more useful than a government-wanted list. I'm just worried that those few old people under his father would disapprove." Disapprove? Qian Shiping is Qian Longtou's only son. Even if he wanted the moon in the skies, he would pick it for him. With his power, he would have 10 times more ways of finding Yimo than I have. Although the Song family is one of the 5 great families, there are still some things that we can't do overtly. It would be best if we hand it to Qian Longtou. This young master Tan seemed to take Qian Longtou very seriously, but was obviously contemptuous towards Qian Shiping. After stopping, he said, "Tianji is getting worse. He actually got 2 idiots to take away Ning Qingxue. Not only did they not get the person here, but they got themselves into trouble. Otherwise, if Ning Qingxue had been here, she would have been so much better than those 2 girls. I also want to enjoy the taste of the prettiest girl in Beijing. What a failure of a person." He even sneered after talking. "I will take care of Tianji and his 2 underlings. They are still regretting in the basement." But looking at Ning Qingxue, she seemed to have some feelings for Yimo, that disabled person. "Perhaps we can use this to block Yimo in Ninghai," brother who said. Young Master Tan shook his head. "You are underestimating Yimo. According to my recent investigation, I found this guy was the typical person who acts like a pig to eat the tiger. Not only is he very strong, but he is also very cunning. If it wasn't for this, it wouldn't be necessary for us to go to someone like Qian Longtou. After all, if this spreads, it won't do good for the Song family." Yimo had finally understood the whole situation. This young Master Tan should be from the Song family and was here just for him, and they accidentally injured Ning Qingxue instead of abducting her. Yi Mo scanned out his spirit sense and indeed found 3 men on their knees in the basement. In the room not far away, he saw 2 other girls with their hair covering their faces, laying on the bed completely nude, and beside them was a young man. However, these 2 girls were full of bruises, and it was unknown if they were asleep or unconscious, but by the looks of it, these 2 girls were the 2 girls young Master Tan was talking about. Yi Mo suddenly discovered that one of the girls seemed a bit familiar, and soon he recognized this girl from Ning High University and was even considered as one of the top 10 prettiest girls there. "It's getting late, brother Hu. We should get some rest now." After saying that, young Master Tan stood up. Before brother Hu could respond, the door was kicked open. At the same time, a cold voice said, "There's no need to rest. From today onward, there will be plenty of time for you to rest. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."